Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страны.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Ті, хто води всяке озброєння, різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там пивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 826 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again. And we're hearing of explosions near the Kerch Bridge, as well as Putin apparently declaring total war as well. So it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine, as just a short while ago, explosions have been reported out of the city of Kerch, and right next to the Kerch Bridge. We were also able to hear that today, many countries have joined France and the United Kingdom in allowing their weapons to be used on Russian soil. And not only that, we have gotten the bombshell announcement from the British government today that Storm Shadow missiles have already been fired onto Russian soil and have already impacted targets within the Russian Federation. Bombshell news to be heard at that. We also got unbelievable news that the Belarusians are going to be withdrawing themselves from the Conventional Armed Forces Treaty of Europe, and on top of that, the Russian President Vladimir Putin has declared a state of total war today with the state of Ukraine, the first time that it's been officially changed from a special military operation to that of a total war, according to the Russian Federation central government and according to Vladimir Putin as well. Not only that, but we got major news from inside of Ukraine as well, as front lines are not changing at all, and it appears that Russian forces have been ground down into bloody stalemates throughout the areas of Vovchansk, Avdiivka, and Bakhmut, as Ukrainian forces are now eyeballing a potential counteroffensive in the area of Kharkiv to drive the Russians from the oblast and to begin to prepare for offensive operations of their own later on in the year. Not only that, but we were also able to see something very interesting today, as President Volodymyr Zelensky, currently inside of Belgium at the moment while we were talking, was escorted in the skies of Belgium by a flight of F-16s, those F-16s being piloted by Ukrainian pilots, meaning that those pilots are near to almost completing their training courses, and those F-16s, which were from the Netherlands and Belgium, will eventually be making their way into Ukraine and being used in the Ukrainian Air Force here in the very near future. We have all of this to cover tonight and loads of extra stuff in between. And the amount of news that came out today, especially later on in the day today, was absolutely unbelievable. And I'm going to be trying to get all of this out to y'all as best as we can. And starting off with probably the biggest and most recent bit of news that we have right now on this live stream, we have the news that explosions have occurred around the area of the city of Kerch on the very eastern edge of the Crimean Peninsula. The city of Kerch poses itself as a major logistics hub for the Russian Federation, with the Kerch Bridge just south of the city and named after the city of Kerch, and the strait, which the city is also named after as well. There is also a major transportation route in this specific spot right here that consists of ferries and railroad ferries that travel from one end of the Kerch Strait into the other, and also allow the Crimean Peninsula to be supplied by other areas of the Russian Federation, including Novorossiysk, which actually has a ferry connection directly to the city of Kerch. This means that not only is the city of Kerch a major logistics route for the, of course, famous bridge, which many people have heard about, of course, throughout the entirety of this war, it is also a major logistics hub due to the railroad and ferry crossings that are conducted by ship in this area. And we were able to get news today that air defenses were going wild over the town of Kerch, as well, more so the city of Kerch, as we heard that there were explosions being reported in the skies and on the ground in the city of Kerch. Here is the first clip that we have showing the air defense in action over the city of Kerch, a part of the Kerch Bridge air defense perimeter, and also the subsequent explosions that we're hearing in the skies above the city and also on the grounds surrounding it. You see our cameraman here looking up into the blank sky above the city, as we see flashes and explosions on the left side of the screen, possibly showing air defense attempting to intercept the ATACMS missiles that were being fired at Kerch.
Sounds like almost like the 4th of July out here, but it's a whole different animal.
I don't think that's the 4th of July. I'll be entirely honest. It went from the 4th of July.
Sounds like freedom to me, though.
Sounds like, it does sound like freedom. I will agree with that.
Kerch.
And explosions are still happening on the ground.
Sounds like Detroit.
A little bit. It sounds like it a little bit. We can still hear a car alarm going off, as silence now starts to subside over the area, and the video clip ends, but showing us a brief glimpse into the air defense action that occurred over the city of Kerch. Meanwhile, we got additional footage on Twitter from OSINT Defender of several additional clips that were showing the air defense actions that were happening near the city. I believe that is the same clip. We're going to be moving on to our next one, which gives us a more clearer view of the skies above Kerch. You see this camera right here showing a glimpse of an explosion, several explosions happening in the skies, but we're not seeing a singular massive one that appears to have successfully intercepted a missile. But we are seeing multiple explosions of air defense missiles above Kerch. And then in our last clip here, which I'll enlarge for y'all to see, we see here an air defense missile that's been fired traveling up to the sky, but we can also see something here that is very telling. You see, we can see this bright flash here that shows that the air defense panicked. Not only did they fire just one missile, they started to fire multiple missiles at a time, pretty much an entire battery firing off at a single moment. At the moment, because that's where this video ends, and that's really the last one we have of what happened here, at the moment, according to Russian officials in Crimea, they are claiming that 2 ferries a railway and a car ferry suffered damage tonight near the Kerch Strait. Not from Ukrainian action, mind you. It's actually damage that was unfortunately caused due to their amazing and unbelievable interceptions of several ATACMS missiles over the city, and it just so happens that the debris fell onto the targets that they were going for and ended up damaging them. Isn't that just unfortunate and terrible to hear? I mean, it's so sad to hear that the Russians are just that good at their jobs that their biggest concern is falling debris. Isn't that terrible? But beyond that, they said that the Ukrainians were attempting to target a number of infrastructure sites near the Kerch Strait Bridge, which is something a little interesting that I will point out here for everyone. Isn't it kind of funny how they said they were trying to target infrastructure sites near the bridge, which would be the ferry crossings, and then they say a couple of ferries got damaged, and a railway car ferry also got damaged as well from falling debris. This sounds to me, and we've heard this before, by the way. We actually heard this, I believe, in the port of Novorossiysk, where they said that a vessel had been damaged by falling debris, and it turns out the falling debris was the intact missile slamming into the side of the vessel and sinking it. And that either occurred in Sevastopol or Novorossiysk about a week ago at this point, and they had the exact same wordage, the exact same statement to make about it, and then it ended up with the exact same result. It was actually severe damage. So from what we're assuming right now, what we would of course get from this is that these missiles most likely impacted the ferries that they were targeting and have destroyed them at their moorings or sank them, one or the other. We're not entirely sure at the moment, and we will be waiting for additional picture and video evidence, but it does appear that a massive attack has been conducted by the state of Ukraine against Russian Federation logistical forces, or logistics vital to the war effort, near to the area of Kerch, and ended up possibly disabling or knocking out several ferries that were involved in the Kerch Strait crossing. This is major news because this is one of the first times that we've ever seen a successful penetration of the Kerch Bridge air defense perimeter, especially considering that these attacks, from what we understand, happened in the harbor right here at this ferry crossing, which at its shortest distance is only 2 miles away from the actual bridge, which is possibly showing us that the Ukrainians are getting very close to having the ability to slam an ATACMS missile directly into the bridge, and air defense would largely be unsuccessful in intercepting or stopping that attack from actually occurring. So, going off
I'll be honest, though, it seems like at this point it's probably more worthwhile to hit the targets that Ukraine's currently hitting around Kerch. The bridge, of course, is a massive propaganda win if Ukraine can take it out, but I think it's probably more important to take out these ferries and these other vessels that they're trying to hit around Kerch. That seems to be probably a more, not necessarily a viable target, but probably a more effective target for the war overall.
It probably is, and also considering that we do have information and intelligence both from the United States Department of Defense as well as the Ukrainian Ministry of the Interior, that we understand now that the Kerch Bridge is not really used at all, either the rail bridge or the road bridge, for major Russian logistical efforts in this area. We do understand that that is mostly moved towards ferry transfers across the Kerch Strait, considering that the ferries may not be at the harbors or the moorings on either side of the strait, or may be underway when an attack occurs. It means that the instances of more severe damage or a severe knockout blow happening to Russian logistical efforts in this area is significantly reduced, because the logistics are already being conducted by ferry, which would be more difficult to target and destroy in a singular instance. But another thing that is really interesting about this, and some people will be saying, well, that's great and all that they are moving everything to the ferries to try and make their, I guess you could say, the safety of their supply lines a little bit more redundant, but what about the railroads? I mean, are they just doing no railroad transport at all? Well, that's actually the very interesting thing, because up here at the top of this weird little peninsula right here that juts out into the middle of the Kerch Strait, there is actually a railroad access. You can actually see the railroad is a double-tracked railroad. It takes a sharp 90-degree turn and then travels all the way down this peninsula to the small little harbor right down here, and this is where they load trains onto a ferry, a specialized ferry, which will then transport that train from this side of the Kerch Strait to the city of Kerch itself, and I believe there's a special railroad access. Yeah, here it is, right here. So the ferry would somehow, somewhere, set up around this area, right here. There it is. There's the mooring for the ferry. And then the train gets unloaded here, and then it's able to travel on into Crimea with its supplies and its goods. And then the normal civilian ferries end up at some kind of a mooring or a wharf within the port. But beyond that, striking and trying to knock out, or successfully from what we understand, possibly knocking out this ferry access means that the Russians will have to take the pretty much Russian roulette, no pun intended, or a suicidal risk of moving their supply lines back onto the Kerch Bridge, which means that if the Ukrainians follow up this attack in a week or two with another attack that ends up successfully hitting and knocking out the railway span and road span of the bridge, that means that all Russian supply and logistical efforts heading into Crimea from the area of Krasnodar through the Kerch Strait will have been completely knocked out, meaning that the Russians will have to rely entirely on the land corridor, which they are attempting to improve at the moment, to try and get supplies into Crimea, which will move most of their supply lines a lot closer to Ukrainian striking range, where they could strike it possibly with conventional HIMARS rockets and missiles. But still, this is major news, and the fact of the matter that is also very interesting to hear that ATACMS missiles, MGM-140 ATACMS missiles from the United States military were used in this attack, of course provided by the United States Department of Defense about a few weeks ago. But another thing that's also incredibly interesting about that is that this is the closest that we've ever seen an ATACMS missile hit to Russia. This is, of course, Crimea is Ukrainian land and illegally being occupied by the Russian Federation. But even according to the international waters barrier in between what would be Ukrainian waters for the Crimean Peninsula and Russian waters inside the Kerch Strait, these explosions only occurred 5 miles, so actually, yeah, exactly 5 miles away from Russian territorial waters, meaning that this is the closest a Western weapon of American design has ever come to striking inside of Russia. But it's not going to be the first one to strike inside of Russia. We got news today. Not only have the French allowed for their weapons to be used on Russian soil, we've started to hear that the Germans, through Scholz's statement today, may even be giving their own blessing for the usage of their weapons, although they have not provided the Taurus, their own weapons on Russian soil. And I'll be reading this off as Scholz says it right here, and this statement came out today. Ukraine has every right under international law to do what it is doing. That has to be said explicitly. It was attacked and may defend itself. I find it strange when some people argue that it should not be allowed to defend itself and take measures that are suitable for this. That has never been a requirement from us, from other European countries, from friendly states in the international arena, and it never will be. And then it goes to the statement from Emmanuel Macron. We think that we should allow them to neutralize the military sites from which the missiles are fired. The missiles and basically the military sites from which Ukraine is attacked. But we must not allow them to hit other targets in Russia. Obviously, civilian capabilities or other military targets.
Man, that's fantastic. All Scholz needed was a little talking over from Macron and just sort of changing his mind already.
Yeah.
Because if Germany flips their mind and starts saying, yeah, Ukraine can use all of our weapons on the Russian mainland, that means Germany is the last person, except for the United States, to give permission to use those weapons. So that would only leave the USA basically pending to give their permission to use U.S. weapons on Russian soil. Because right now, Germany and the U.S. are the only holdouts left. Pretty much everybody else has said yes at this point.
And that's certainly true, and hopefully we'll see that Scholz actually changes his mind, but at the same time, we haven't seen the Germans provide the Taurus missile yet, so while they could change their mind, it wouldn't have any impact on Ukraine's war effort because they have no weapons of German design that would be able to fire inside of Ukraine, but nice to see that they are having a change of mind, at least on the diplomatic level at the moment. But moving on from that, we also got news from Helsinki today, among many other countries, but Helsinki would be our example for the news tonight, that they are going to be allowing their weapons to be used on Russian territory. This statement came out today from United 24 and is absolutely incredible news. And they were able to get that statement from Elina Valtonen, the head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Finland. Not only that, but bigger news came out that the Swedes, while not providing the Gripen, are going to provide something that is, to be quite honest, far more expensive than any F-16 or any Gripen that could ever be provided. They are going to give Ukraine their first AWACS aircraft, the first ever in Ukrainian service. They're going to be giving them the Embraer AWACS. These are actually fairly advanced. I know it kind of looks a little weird. It looks like they put a 2x4 plywood board on top of a private plane, but This thing is pretty advanced, actually, believe it or not. The Israelis actually have several of these and used them during the Iranian attack on Israel a little while ago, the largest drone and missile attack that had ever been seen. They actually had, I believe, 1 or 2 of these things airborne, and they are pretty impressive technologically. These will help Ukraine to be able to detect incoming air targets and also keep an eye on Russian Air Force operations within the theater of southeastern Ukraine, and be able to help them in detecting and destroying these air targets before they can cause serious damage to Ukrainian ground forces or serious damage to Ukrainian infrastructure behind the lines. But all
And
of
also,
this,
I just want to double check real quick. Sweden was the country that was going to give the Gripens to Ukraine, but they sort of backed out of that yesterday at the request of allies. Isn't that right? That's Sweden, right?
that is correct. We actually have the article
So-
right here from yesterday.
So maybe this was the plan all along. Maybe they canceled the Gripens because they knew they were about to give the AWACS. And, you know, if the U.S. goes through with giving F-16s to Ukraine and they have those jets, which are the jets they've been asking for, I guess it's okay if Sweden canceled the Gripen if they're going to give the AWACS instead. That could have been the plan all along.
That could have been the plan, and if it was, very nice to see. AWACS aircraft, also to give you all a little bit of a background on what an AWACS aircraft does, AWACS aircraft allow for a greater deal of sight and communication with ground forces than would normally be allowed. AWACS serve as an early warning system and a mobile flying headquarters. To try and explain the two separately, because it's almost 2 different missions that an AWACS can do at the same time, that the specific Embraer that's going to be used as the AWACS aircraft has a radar boom that's on top of it. It's the massive plywood, like 2x4 thing that's on top of the plane that emits a radar pulse that is able to pick up any kind of incoming missiles or aircraft over an incredibly large area. These things have a radar coverage that can span, I believe, 250 to 300 miles or so. It's an incredibly large area. This allows them to see when Russian bombers start launching missiles into Ukraine, where those missiles are, and to coordinate ground-air defense efforts as best as they possibly can. Not only that, but the AWACS radar also allows them to be able to detect not only missiles, but aircraft as well. They are able to pick up Russian aircraft that are operating inside of occupied Ukraine, or even inside the Russian Federation, giving the Ukrainian forces on the ground, and once again the ground air defense forces, a big heads up on where these aircraft are and where they're heading, which allows, in the future most likely, Ukrainian F-16s to be able to plot interception courses a lot more, I guess you could say, successfully than they would have in the past, and allow them to possibly intercept or even interdict these Russian air missions that would be conducted. On top of that, they also serve as a flying mobile command headquarters. Back in the day when the Russians were using their A-50 mainstay, which was a modified Ilyushin 76 that served in the same role for the Russians, they would use it as a flying headquarters and allowed them to command and control Russian forces that were in the far fringes of Ukraine, such as in the area of Kherson or southern Zaporizhia, and also to be able to have a more, really an on-the-moment decision-making ability that wasn't provided through ground headquarters or as easily done. That's what AWACS can do. It is, but not to say this for everything that's coming out these days, but he is another big game changer for Ukraine. And these aircraft are not cheap. Let me go see if I can find, let's see, Embraer, AWACS, and let me go. Here we go. So is the Embraer, no, it's not this one. It's another Embraer. This one's a jet, but I need to find the one that is the propeller one. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see here. One second, let me just go to Swedish Air Force. That'll be a lot easier. Swedish Air Force equipment, because they have several in service, and I'll just be able to go over there and click it. So let me scroll down here, and then we will go to the AWACS. So it's the Saab. Actually, sorry, everyone, it's not an Embraer. I was not giving enough credit. It is actually a Saab. I did not know that Saab produced any kind of propeller aircraft like this. I thought it was an Embraer, and it looks a lot like one. But beyond that, let me see if we can get some information about its radar operation. And also we can see right here that the future operators have already been listed on Wikipedia. They keep up to date with everything as best they can. But let's see here. Let me see if I can find any information. So here we go. My information on the radar range was correct. It has a 120-degree zone of scan on either side of the airframe, meaning that it has a total of 240 degrees of radar coverage, meaning that if this thing was flying directly across the front line, it is able to see 120 degrees up and down the line from where the radar is emitting on both sides of the plane. It has a range of anywhere in between 190 to 250 miles, meaning that if this aircraft was flying about 100 miles behind the front lines to be safe from Russian air defense systems, it is still able to look 150 miles into Russian airspace and see what's going on in there, an ability that the Ukrainians really do not have at this moment. Not only that, but it can also operate as a mobile command headquarters or a flying command headquarters, which would allow the Ukrainian commanders a lot more operational flexibility. All of this is a massive benefit to Ukraine and is truly going to most likely end up being a game changer for air defense of Ukraine's skies. But all of this put together has put the Russians in a very tough lurch. There's really no other way to put it. With the U.S., and well, not U.S., but with Western weapons being allowed to be used on Russian soil, and now the provision of not only the F-16s here in the very near future, but also the Saab 350s that we just saw a moment ago, the 390s, the Russians are in panic mode in the government. And this came out today in a statement from Putin. Putin has officially said that this is a state of total war as of today. It is no longer a special military operation on the governmental level of the Russian Federation. He is now saying that it is, in fact, a total war that is being fought against the state of Ukraine, and possibly even insinuating a total war being fought against the collective West. But let me get y'all directly into the statement. I'm going to allow it to play here on screen without reading the subtitles, and without further ado, here is the video.
Все должны работать как на линии фронта. Все должны чувствовать себя мобилизованными. И только так мы добьемся тех целей, которые перед собой ставим. В современных условиях по-другому работать нельзя. Нужно наладить тесное сотрудничество всех органов власти, исполнителей национальных проектов. Именно от этого будет зависеть эффективность нашей работы. И только тогда мы добьемся целей, которые ставим перед собой, как я уже сказал, и которые нужны стране. Все.
And so you can see that right here, in his own words, he's saying that the entire nation has to be mobilized for the war effort, declaring a state of total war. It is absolutely insane to hear something like this, and it is once again showing us that the war effort is going so badly. It is going so poorly, and there's really no other way to take this than this one statement here. It is going so badly that now they are actually going to start moving, even on the governmental level, into some form of a full mobilization. This is absolutely insane. It's literally nuts. And a lot of people have been talking about the statement that Putin made, and I'm going to leave this up on screen here so that y'all can all look at Putin looking glazed over with anger, not going to lie. But beyond that, Putin has been telling, like we saw in the clip, the Russian citizens to work like on the front line and to feel mobilized to save the Russian Federation. And a lot of people have been weighing in their thoughts on this statement, which is a bombshell statement that came out today. Some people are saying that Putin is declaring a state of total war. And some other people are saying that Putin is preparing the public for the loss of the Russian Federation in Ukraine. And some others are saying that Putin is talking completely out of fear of what's to come, because it seems as though the Ukrainians will be able to outlast the Russian Federation till the end of this year or the very beginning of next year, and be able to win the war just by simply outlasting due to Western support. Loads of people have been putting in their opinions, and there really is no wrong opinion at this point, because we don't really know why Putin is moving in such a desperate direction as this. All we know is that he is. And Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about this massive event that has happened today?
All right, so after Putin made the statement to the citizens of Russia that they should work like on the front line and also feel mobilized to save Russia, it looks like 37% of the audience believes that Putin is declaring total war, while 26% said Putin is talking out of pure fear, and 25% said Putin is preparing the public for a major loss. And on this one, to me, I'm with the 37%. To me, it sounds like Putin is switching the rhetoric from that special military operation, which he was trying to phrase it like it really wasn't a war, but in reality, it's obviously a war. They're at war with Ukraine, and they have everything they have in their military deployed on the front line in a foreign country. To me, that sounds like war. But now it sounds like Putin is telling the citizens that this is no longer, an isolated incident. They're no longer going through Ukraine to eradicate people. Now they need the entire country of Russia Russia to rise up and basically start working like the country's about to basically die. To me, that sounds like total war. When a country starts basically mobilizing all of its people to fight this thing, that is total war in my opinion. So it looks like 37% agree with that. And Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say it does seem as though the Russians are moving to declaring total war. It is showing how badly the war effort is going, and I want to make sure to put this into a strategic overview for everyone onto why the Russians would have to make this shift even on a public level and statements, because a lot of people always think that a government can just kind of work in secret, like it's not something that takes the collective efforts of the nation to undertake something, or that they have to get everyone on the same page. The reality is that whenever a government does something, it has to be heavily publicized so that way they can get the nation on the same page, or at least the same line of thinking. And so far over the course of this war, we have seen that the Russians at best have only conducted a partial mobilization of their efforts to fight this war. That is not to say, though, that if they fully mobilized, they would be able to win it. The reality is that Russian war industry is incredibly small, and not only that, the Russian government is wildly strapped for cash, so even if they wanted to fully mobilize, there isn't really a lot more war production that could be done, but there is a lot more that could be done to shave costs for the government. And there's a lot more that could be done to start feeding more bodies into this machine, and that would be full mobilization. If the Russians were to start shifting the public's mindset, like we can see right now with Putin doing this, into full mobilization, it gives them an ability to say, listen, folks, y'all knew this was happening. We've been saying this all along. We are fighting the collective West here. So we're going to start drafting people en masse to serve in the Russian armed forces. And not only that, we are going to start cutting down on a lot of government spending, such as pensions and things like that. So that way we can put that money towards the war effort and war production. All of that is what they would be wanting to do at this point, considering that the war is going so badly. Western support didn't die at the beginning of this year, and we already knew that Putin was really leaning in on that. We even heard him make a statement in January and February of this year where he said, why in the world would I want to negotiate peace now? The U.S. isn't supporting them. We'll just bleed them dry. And then when U.S. support returned, then the war was over. The war was over at that point, because right now there's a ticking time bomb on both sides. Both sides will most likely end up suffering a collapse, or will inevitably suffer a collapse by next year, most likely. If the Russians somehow found a way, or the Russians had a benefactor that allowed them to survive this war until the later part of next year, Ukraine would probably end up imploding on itself, and the Russians would end up winning the war in some way, shape, or form, and most likely being able to retain the territories that they have right now. But with the Ukraine being the only side right now that is getting support from a larger external power, they are able to last longer than the Russians will. And considering that the Ukrainians are already hitting Russian oil refineries, and the Russians are expected to run out of their oil reserves, or really usable fuel reserves, by the end of this year or the very beginning of next year, we already know that the Russian Federation will most likely be out of the war by the end of this year or the beginning of next year. This means that right now, the Russians are doing everything they can, because they're going to lose the war at this rate, to try and figure out how to make Ukraine give up and lose quicker than they will. And that's why we're now seeing that Putin is shifting his statements from, we can just bleed them out, because he knew that they would bleed out before the Russians would, to now that's certainly not the case. So now they've got to find a way to speed up this bleeding out of Ukraine before the Russians end up pretty much forcing themselves out of the war to major internal issues inside the country. A complete lack of vehicles, a complete lack of manpower, a complete lack of really any funds in the Russian government, and not only that, a complete lack of fuel to keep anything running at all. And a complete lack of fuel will not only affect the civilian and military end of things, it will affect Russian agriculture. And if Russian agriculture is affected, then we could start to see a large humanitarian crisis unfold inside of Russia. Famines could start to grip the nation, and with famines comes severe government change. Almost every single time. There very rarely in history has famine not resulted in massive government change or major civil unrest, and one of those few instances would be the Great Leap Forward and the Great Famine in North Korea. And the only reason that those two countries survived was because they have a iron grip on the nation, and not only that, a very strong secret police apparatus in both countries, where any dissent, even in dire situations such as the Great Leap Forward and the Great Famine in North Korea, were met with immediate oppression of the public, where you really had no option but to starve to death and shut up and be happy about it. In the Russian Federation, however, while they have a decently strong police apparatus, We already have seen with the arrest and trial of Ivan Popov, among many other Russian generals, that loyalty within the Russian government and the strength of the police state is rather weak, and the loyalty of many have been questioned. This would show that in the event of a major situation such as a famine gripping the nation due to fuel shortages and a complete lack of farmers or agriculture to be able to be conducted in a normal form, that would most likely cause a severe government change. It would create a very fragile situation for the Russian government, even more so than it is now, which would lead to an overthrowing of Putin and the installment of a brand new Russian government, which is something that is simply unacceptable. And for that reason, Russia must end the war now. They must end it this year before the fall comes around. If the fall comes around this year, it is probably going to be over for them. And so
I just think that Russia is basically going to be forced to forcibly mobilize people, like the entire country, a general mobilization. Me personally, I think it's coming down the road. The losses in Ukraine are simply too high for Russia not to do that. And also, I think with Putin's statement and coming out and saying what he said today, that was basically his way of saying that you can either voluntarily mobilize yourselves and start working like we're in a state of total war, because he basically said that we are today, or he's going to forcibly mobilize people. I think the people in Russia, even though they try to turn the other cheek to the statements Putin is making, I think they're aware of basically what he's trying to tell them right now. But I think the problem that Putin's going to have here, I don't think the Russian public is going to listen to him that much, because I think they're starting to get war fatigued. And even though, Putin does have an iron grip on the country, I just don't think the civilians really have the appetite for more war to start getting motivated enough to really answer the call that Putin's calling here. So eventually, I think you're going to see a general mobilization at some point.
And I would agree with that as well. And also, really quickly, let me switch it to subscriber mode, because I can see we are getting overrun with bots right now. I've been seeing that in the chat. It's like 20 of them right now that are in there. I think we're getting waterlogged with them. But beyond that, I would agree. Oh, yeah, it's a load of them. But I would completely agree with you that the Russians are in a very desperate situation, and they probably will move completely into a full mobilization, not just of the military, but also the economy as well, because it's their last dying chance to be able to try and end up succeeding in this war or losing it. And that's something that a lot of people don't really know and about war, for the most part, is that wars are not a matter of bleeding another country dry in manpower alone. It's really more so a practice of economics, and this is something that I find that most people in the public generally are ignorant about. And it's nothing against y'all. It's nothing against anyone who would say something like this. It's just what people say, and it's what people believe. But people always say that wars are extremely profitable, and historically they're not. They never are profitable. I mean, maybe for some arms manufacturers, yeah, it would be profitable for them. But for most of the economy and the government, it is not profitable at all. In fact, it is extremely atrocious. A nation can be bankrupted. Countries can lose their standing in the world over an incredibly expensive war. And money is one of the largest and most important determinants in how long a country can stay at war. And right now, we know the Russians are practically broke already and are doing everything they can to scrape together their last few bits of rubles to be able to put into this war effort. And Ukraine, to be quite honest, is on a very similar level. It's just that the United States and many Western countries continue to fund them and give them a large amount of just really free cash for the government to be able to keep things running, that the Ukrainian government doesn't completely implode on itself, because the war is unbelievably expensive on both ends. And going off of that, the Russians do know on that metric as well, this war will end. We just do not have the money anymore to keep this thing going for much longer. We have to do everything we can right now to end this war, or we're going to go broke, we're going to run out of oil, or we're going to run out of equipment to even fight this war with, because the tanks aren't coming back. They're losing more tanks than they can even replace. And so if they lose all of their offensive abilities, they lose all their money, and they lose all their oil, the Russian government literally has nothing. The nation has nothing to fight the war with, and that means the war will end, just for those reasons. Not because of a lack of manpower or anything, because right now, to be quite honest, the Russians have a truly endless amount of manpower. They could grow the Russian military to be several million men strong, but if they don't have any way to get to the front lines, they don't have any food to eat, and not only that, they don't even have tanks to support the infantry with, or even rifles to issue to the soldiers. That's all pointless. It wouldn't matter at all. So I hope that kind of addresses that fairly well as to why the Russian Federation will most likely end up having to peace out of the war by the later end of this year or next year, and that's why Putin is in such a desperate state to start pretty much declaring as of today a total war. But with that, we've also seen that this is something that has a little bit of a tremor in the past, and it was something that I had to include tonight because of everything that's going on right now and talking about the questioning of the loyalty and the weakness of the Russian central government and the police state that they currently have. We can see that at a little bit of a gravesite of someone who was very popular and very well known in the past, we were able to see that they got a statue today, and it was of Yevgeny Prigozhin. Yevgeny Prigozhin got a statue today at his burial site, and it was unveiled today.
No.
We can see it right there.
No.
And we can see them actually putting the statue up. There it is before they put it up, and then they finally put it up, and there's the statue. But one thing that's interesting about this, and I just want to remind y'all of this, nothing really about the statue, because they put up a couple of statues of the guy, so that's nothing really that special. What is really special about this, though, is Yevgeny Prigozhin himself. Prigozhin was the first person ever in modern Russian history to conduct an open rebellion against the Russian government. And while it only lasted about 24 to 48 hours, it was really 36 hours long, what is important to remember about that is that he showed that the Russian government is far weaker than it ever really appeared publicly. A lot of people thought that the Russian government was watertight, and there was absolutely no way to threaten the power of Putin or to even stop him because he had an endless amount of manpower and funds to keep the government running. And then Prigozhin went on a truck drive pretty much to Moscow and proved to everyone, literally no one would stand in your way if you overthrew the Russian government. In fact, everyone would just sit idly by on the highway and watch you drive by on your way to go overthrow the Russian government. So there were really two.
Prigozhin really did prove to us all when he plowed his way toward Moscow like that. He proved to literally everybody that literally Putin has put everything they have in their military on the front line in Ukraine. Nothing left behind in mainland Russia whatsoever, except for a very light police forces, and that was it. But here's my question though. Why does Putin keep allowing statues of Nutsack to be put up all around the country, but yet at the same time Putin killed the guy, and he also was almost overthrown by the guy? It's like a weird love-hate relationship thing with this guy and Putin. It's weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. And I'm not really sure if this was approved by the Russian government or if this was just done by people who really liked Prigozhin. I don't really know, because these people don't really look like they would be with the Russian central government. It just looks like some people from St. Petersburg, to be quite honest. But still, this guy shows there is a chance to overthrow the Russian government, and it really showed how weak the government was. And that's something very important to remember right now while we're watching Putin declare total war. That government is about to go. It's almost on its very last legs. And if we give it a little bit longer, we may see another Prigozhin rise up from the ashes and attempt to overthrow the Russian government. And this time, he might actually end up being successful. You never know. But moving on from that, and out of that bit of news, we did get to see that Belarus is apparently working lock and step with the Russians right now, as they have now revoked the Conventional Armed Forces in Europe Treaty today, saying that they have been forced. It's a retaliatory step. And they said that this was absolutely ridiculous. They couldn't follow it anymore. This comes really on the path of the Poles doing that a while ago, as well as the Turks, and a couple of Baltic nations as well. But with the Belarusians doing it, especially today, it is showing that apparently they are starting to move the Russian Federation is starting to move down a little bit more of a hostile path with the West, and now Belarus is following in suit as they normally do. And not only that, we also got to hear that Donald Tusk, no, didn't you hear me say something else? But Donald Tusk has apparently said that Poland is going to be restoring their buffer zone with on the border of Belarus, or with Belarus for the most part. And to read y'all this exactly, so that way I don't make sure to not get anything out of context here. The decision was taken after the attack of an illegal alien on a Polish border guard. Donald Tusk said this at a press conference in the village of Dubici Sierkiewen. I hope I said that right. I know I did, and I'm so sorry to all the Polish people here, which is located near the border with Belarus. The Prime Minister also announced the location of all available resources to secure the border. I want to convey this to everyone. There's no place for any negotiations here. You could use any available methods. The Polish border must be protected. The minister described the attack on the Polish soldier as thuggish, and said that this is a situation that is getting more and more complicated every day, and it is an organized action of the Belarusian services, which is correct, by the way. But beyond that, I
would hate to see an attack classified as friendly. I'm glad they described the attack as thuggish, because I was hoping it wouldn't be the other way around.
Man, I'm telling you what, man, and every time Donald Tusk comes out, it looks like he's about to murder someone. I don't know, man. He looks like he's like, I'm damn tired of them Belarusians. Like, he looks like he's about to say something like that. But beyond that...
Could be related to Quentin Tarantino, perhaps. He kind of looks like his cousin.
Watch out, dude. Don't say feet around this guy. like, watch out. He'll start freaking out or something. But beyond that, very interesting to hear that the Polish are going to be restoring that border zone, and it's a little bit of an interesting thing to talk about with that, because a lot of people don't know the situation with Belarus and Poland, and honestly, it's a really long one to explain. But to shorten it up, Belarus goaded a whole bunch of Syrians into traveling to Belarus on these literally free vacation plans, and once the Syrians arrived, they revoked all of their passports. They actually confiscated their Syrian passports and told them, listen, y'all aren't going back. The only way y'all are going anywhere is to walk your asses from Minsk. I'm not kidding. They had them walk all the way from Minsk all the way to the Polish border, and they gave them instructions on how to flee into Poland. The plan with that was to start really overrunning Poland with migrants for the most part, and then start causing massive economic strain on the Polish government. So the Polish government decided that what they would do is that they would start setting up huge amounts of Polish armed forces on the border and really just beat these guys with poles and sticks every time they cross, and really just force them to stay in the woods in Belarus. But the problem is that they cannot leave the border of Belarus and Poland, because if they try to, they'll get shot by the Belarusian security forces that are behind them, and making sure that they stay on the border and don't end up just traveling around Belarus everywhere. So that is kind of the situation at the moment that is on the border. So a little bit of a tough one for the Syrian vacationers, the Syrian tourists, if you want to call them that. But beyond that, you can kind of see the game that is being played by the Belarusians on the Poles, and why the Poles would never let these folks across. On top of that, it's also been supposed by the Poles that hypothetically some of these people may be Belarusian agents that are attempting to cross the border as migrants and then travel into Poland or the rest of Europe and to begin to collect vital information, military information, if possible. So with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least with that whole situation, and why in the world that's even an issue. But beyond that, I've also been seeing that a lot of people have been talking about the statement that has come out today. And also, I got to move y'all to that statement. Storm shadows, according to what we've been able to find on Twitter, and I'll be getting onto this. According to Yuri Sak, the advisor to Ukraine's Minister of Strategic Industries, he said that Ukraine fired Storm Shadow missiles into Russian territory with London's permission, or the British government's permission. This means that Western weapons, as of today, from what we know, were officially used on Russian soil. There is a picture of a Storm Shadow missile right there, and also a British officer smiling bigly as he walks by the, I think, $3 million missile. But beyond that, very interesting to hear that they apparently used one in Russia, and a lot of people have been talking about this. Some people have been saying, is a Russian response even imminent? And some people said Russia will probably strike more civilian targets as reprisals for the Storm Shadow being used on Russian territory. Some people are saying that it'll just be simply Russian talk. They'll be saying that they're pissed and it won't really be more than that. Some people are saying that Russia will respond dramatically, and who knows what that would really entail. And some other people are a little unsure about that. But beyond that, a load of people have been talking about this massive development today, with the Storm Shadow being the first Western weapon to ever be fired and hit something on Russian soil. And Matthew, what are people thinking about that, and what are you thinking about that as well?
All right, so now that it's been officially confirmed that the first UK Storm Shadow missile has been used on mainland Russia, that was the big red line that Putin was saying that if it's crossed, this is going to mean war with NATO. That's what he's been saying all along. So now the question is a Russian response imminent? It looks like 40% said Russia might strike more civilians as a reprisal, while 27% said Russia will respond drastically, and 25% said no, Russia will simply talk some more. And on this one, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure which direction this is going to go. Of course, Russia's failsafe is attacking more innocent civilians. They've done that en masse in the recent weeks, And I would not be shocked to see that. But the big question is Putin going to let his statements go to the wayside, which he's done in the past? It wouldn't be too shocking if he did that. Or is he actually going to follow through on his threat and respond drastically? What a drastic response would look like, nobody really knows, because, of course, only the crazy man Putin would know that. But we've seen over time that Putin is a lot of hot air, and he really doesn't follow through on the really big threats. So we'll have to wait and see. But I'm kind of with the 40%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that they probably will end up striking more civilian targets. It just seems to be the Russian go-to. Whenever they're angry, some Ukrainian citizen somewhere is going to have to pay for it. So I would say that that's most likely what they're going to end up doing again, is attempting to strike and destroy Ukrainian civilian targets. Hopefully the Ukrainians will be able to have more success in the air defense in the future in stopping those attacks from happening, but that will probably be the unfortunate reality of the situation at this moment. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, it's now time for us to move on down into our location unknowns, because we actually got to see how the Russians built the turtle tank today. Like, a Russian news agency actually put out an entire thing on it. So I'm going to show y'all the clip. I'm not going to talk over it. I'm just going to show y'all, because it is whack. So here it is.
Трудно узнать танк Т-72. Орудие ремонту не подлежало, ходовая в порядке. Башню срезали, наварили стальные листы. Теперь боевая машина может использоваться для перевозки пехоты.
Вот теперь уже знаменитый царь-мангал. Вот танк обшит такой мощной, надежной защитой. Здесь вот еще один. Совершенствуются наши техники для того, чтобы противостоять врагу. И вот такие ухищрения препятствуют и попаданию осколков, ну и вообще остаются незаметными для беспилотников. Наши танки в том числе.
And you know, this guy is talking about how beautiful and how powerful these tanks are and how well protected they are, and I just can't help but look behind him and look at the Fallout 4 looking scrap metal that's been welded to the vehicle, and he's calling that powerful protection. You know, I would say, to be quite honest, this is absolutely hideous. I've never seen armor modifications, even still, that have looked this hideous. Like, you can actually see the paint rusting off of this door back here. The whole thing is freaking hideous. And look, he'll be like, look, here's another one. Like, there's something to show off. Like,
And
look
what's
at that.
crazy is they're proud of this whole thing. It's like, how can you be proud of a monstrosity like that, man? It's literally got a door, like, welded onto sheet metal. Come on now. And
Dude,
also rubber flaps. Like, I just noticed that as well. They've added rubber flaps to the new Bliatmobile.
It is the ugliest thing I have ever seen. Like, by far. I just don't think anything can beat this ugly looking vehicle. But you know something that isn't ugly? The LSA t-shirts that you can get on officialenforcerstore.com.
What? Dang, that was a brutal plug. Dang, that was a harsh transition. Bam.
I'm so sorry when I hit you like a truck with it. But beyond that, I just had to make a quick announcement really quickly because, you know, of course, we want to make sure to keep people in mind. Some people may not know. Who knows? But on officialenforcerstore.com, you can find the link in the description below. We are selling limited edition LSA t-shirts and also LSA morale patches. Sadly, the LSA morale patches are only available in America, but do not worry, international viewers. We will eventually be selling patch packs where you can get multiple different patches in one big pack. But beyond that, you can get these t-shirts in multiple different colors. They're made of American cotton. We went through the argument last night. It is confirmed unanimously to be the best cotton out there in the world. Egyptian cotton just does not compare. And we were able to get this in multiple different colors. We have black, military green, charcoal, navy, light blue, and light pink. Would you look at that? Aren't they beautiful? I gotta say, they are incredible. And not only that, they come in multiple different sizes. Small, medium, large, extra large, 2XL, 3XL, 4XL, and 5XL. You can find every single size that you need, and an unlimited quantity of them can be gotten. They are made of Gildan qualities, Gildan design. They are some of the best that you can get.
Gildan,
Gillette, I don't know. But beyond that, they are absolutely incredible. And not only that, the patches are also beautiful as well. You can get an unlimited number of these as well, as long as you live in America. But beyond that, I just gotta make sure to plug it because this is only going to be going on for now. We may extend it towards the later in the week, but for now, this limited edition sale will be will be ending on Saturday night at the end of that stream. So I just want to make sure to let y'all know that this is a thing that is happening right now, and that you can get a morale patch, or I call them combat patch, a high visibility combat patch of the Lee Spring Army flag, and you can also get yourself a Lee Spring Army t-shirt, which is absolutely beautiful. I'm actually getting a couple of these. I told Matthew, I'm getting one in black, I'm getting one in military green, I'm getting one in navy, and also, some of y'all might get a laugh out of this, I'm actually going to be also getting one in light pink. And we're going to be putting that
for
on.
real? You're getting the pink one?
Yeah, we're going to get the light pink one, and we're going to be putting the picture of Matthew and me wearing the light pink on Patreon, just because it would be funny. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can and put out that merciless
Also,
plug.
by the way, it's on officialenforcerstore.com, by the way.
And it is. And also another thing I'd like to show you really quickly. This may be a little bit of streamception, but that's fine. And I got to show it to y'all because some folks and some people are like, man, why are you plugging it? I'll tell y'all why. Some folks do not watch the channel all the way through, or sometimes they go off to get a snack or something, and I say it one night, and then they're not on to hear it. And so then then the whole week's out, and then I talk about it later, and someone's like, wait a minute, I never heard about that, so we have to make sure to cover it. But let me move over here. So this is our stream. This is streamception right now, because y'all are seeing the stream on the stream. But if you go down here on desktop, and you click more, right here, this link, it says, get your LSA t-shirt and patch here. It says that in all bold. If you click on that, it will take you directly to the website. And that's exactly where you can find them and where you can get them. So if you want one, get one. If you don't want one, that's fine. But if you want like 10 of them, you can get those too. The t-shirts are $25 a piece. The combat patches are about $10 a pop. The combat patches are only available in the United States, but the t-shirts can be gotten literally everywhere. So with that, I hope that does address that incredibly well, the best we can. And also, I still have to say this, I'm repping the set for Navy Blue. It's beautiful. But what do you got, Matthew?
And also, by the way, 10% of the profits from the purchases will go to United 24, by the way, to help save lives in Ukraine. Can't forget that. That's an important aspect as well.
Yeah, we actually got that right there. Like right there at the bottom of the website. I forgot to say that. So not only is your purchase of this shirt and this combat patch helping this channel to keep on running, it's also helping Ukraine to keep on going as well, as 10% of all the profits made off of these merchandise sales are donated to United 24. And also, if you're wondering, where do we ever get proof of that? You are able to get proof of that on Patreon, on our YouTube community page, as well as our Twitter. As we always post receipts after limited edition merch sales are completed, we always post receipts of our donations to United 24 on all platforms that we can to make sure to show y'all that it actually did go through. And we weren't just saying that to make everyone feel good. It was actually the thing that we did. But with that, I hope that does address that quite well indeed. And of course, make sure to get some if you can, or if you want to, or if you think it looks cool, because I think it looks cool, me personally. But moving on from that, it's now time for us to move on from this little clip and on out into our next bit of Location Unknown news, where we got to see the new and improved loaf. But before we show y'all the new and improved loaf, Matthew, I understand that there's a couple of people who have some questions.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of very good questions tonight. So let's move into our first one, which is going to go to Just Chillin', who's a longtime channel legend, by the way. And he threw in a very generous $100 donation. And huge shout out to you, Just Chillin', for that support and helping to keep us running. He said, Enforcer Matt, your contributions do not go unnoticed, and every day you put in the hard work and effort to make sure that we receive news with merit. He said, I truly appreciate your dedication and willingness to go the extra mile. And he said, your work is invaluable and many thanks. Thank you very much, Just Chillin'. That's very kind words from you as well. It means a lot to hear that from the audience as well. So huge thanks. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I would have to say, Just Chillin', thank you so much for the incredibly kind words. That was an incredibly nice thing to say. And I thank you so much for that. And also, I'm thank you for enjoying the efforts that we go through. And also, I'm a little bit of a spoiler alert. One of our first long-form video documentaries may be coming out soon. Like, I can't really say when, maybe within the next few weeks, but we are working on it. And I will tell y'all a little bit of what it's about, because I'm so excited to get it out to y'all finally, because I've been talking about these forever. We are going to be making a video on a hypothetical invasion of Taiwan by the People's Republic of China and what that would look like, or what that would possibly look like if it was to occur. it is something that I've been wanting to do. Matthew can also tell you that I'm not as well versed on the People's Liberation Army as I am the Russian Federation's armed forces and the Ukrainian armed forces. So for that reason, I actually ended up buying, I think it was like, if I'm remembering the price correct, it was about $120 worth of books today on the Chinese military and also the Taiwanese military, the Republic of China's army and air forces and ground forces, all that stuff. So that way I can make sure to put together the best long-form video we can. And the entire premise of the video is going to be pretty much a war game. It's going to be the Republic of China versus the People's Republic of China, what that would look like. And it won't go over the entire war and give like an end conclusion. It will just be showing the very preliminary opening moments of this conflict. Most likely the first maybe like month or two, something like that. It wouldn't be long. It would mostly just cover the air campaign over Taiwan, the blockade of Taiwan, and maybe the first amphibious landings that would happen. But that would be it. We wouldn't be going over what a ground war on the island would look like, and we're also not going to be including the United States in the video. We're going to be expecting that Taiwan will be entirely on its own in this hypothetical scenario. But with that, I can't wait to get this video out to y'all. And just chilling, thank you for the massive support, because it makes dreaming like that possible. And it's not going to be a dream for long. It's going to start becoming a reality here in the near future. And I cannot wait to put this out to y'all. I don't really know how we're going to get some of the nice, high quality looking animations done, because to be quite honest, we have not been able to find a animator to work on this thing. So we're going to be trying to figure out how to make it look really good and at the same time be really informational, and all of that in between, and try and figure that out the best we can. But I'm still trying to figure all that out as we go. But still, with that, thank you so much once again for the incredibly kind words. I love doing this. This is one of the best things I could have ever done, is getting to cover news and cover events around the world. And I thank you so much, Just Chillin', for having a massive appreciation of it. And not only that, supporting this channel so that way we can continue to do this as a full-time job and work on this thing day in and day out. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope I was able to address that top notch. And with that, we're now going to be moving on into the next one. But I'm seeing a lot of people, Matthew, in the chat are extremely ecstatic about this video idea. And to add to this a little bit more, I don't really know how many of these we could end up doing, because this is kind of a special instance. We do hear that a Chinese invasion will possibly be happening in early to mid-July, well, June, I'm sorry, correction. And that kind of leads us to want to make a video on this so that way we can talk about it before it happens, and maybe give an overview of what that might look like. But at the same time, I don't really know when we could do this with other stuff. Like, one thing I was wanting to do is really make a whole bunch of East Asia-centric content. And I know that that's a complete step away from what we usually do, which is European content with the Ukraine war and stuff going on out here. But East Asia is an interesting animal unto itself, and would be very complementary to longer form kind of documentary or long form video content that we could do on this channel, which is also why we've been getting sponsors on some of our videos in the past, so that we could try and build up a budget for these things, so that way we'd be able to make them really top notch. So we're going to make one, and depending on how well it goes, it will determine how the other ones go in the future. Because if it's something that everyone loves and it becomes really popular, we will start to make a lot of East Asian content. And not only that, we'll make content on the Middle East. We'll also make content on Europe and NATO forces and their face-off against the Russian Federation and Belarus. And we may even span out even further, talking about things like the kind of great game that's being conducted over Central Africa, and maybe even some of the things that happen in Central and South America. It may be even just major trade and logistics things, or diplomatic maneuvers being made by multiple different countries around the world. If y'all find those things interesting, we may make video content like that as often as possible. I don't know how often that would be, because we do make videos almost every day of the week, and then also run live streams 6 days a week as well. So our schedule is really tied up a good bit every day with just making sure the channel keeps going. But I think that we will be able to make that happen maybe every 2 weeks or once a month, which would be really cool to do, and I would love doing that. But I hope that kind of allows you all a little bit more of a look into what we're planning in the background with that the best we can. And I thank you so much once again for support, Just Chillin', and enjoying this channel, because hopefully it will only become better and even more, it will have even more stuff for y'all to enjoy in the future. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that did address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to K-Dub Janky, who's also a longtime channel legend, as everybody knows. And he put in a very generous $50 donation. And thank you very much, Janky, for that support. He said, family is heading to Rome on vacation.
Wow.
And ancient Greece plus Imperial Rome plus British Empire equals USA influencers. And I think that Roman influence was most important. And LSA daily intel operations start there at 0400 hours and LSA University.
Hey! And I've never heard of LSA University before, but I like that. Maybe, you know what? We could call that the LSA War Academy. How about that? That would be really cool. But still, thank you so much for the massive support, K-Dub Janky. And also, I hope that y'all have fun going to Rome and all going to like really just Rome. Like, forget anything else. That would be cool. Matthew's actually always wanted to go to Italy, especially I think it's Tuscany, if I'm correct, Matthew.
It's that coastline in Italy. I forgot the name. What is it? It's called the
Italian Riviera?
The Amalfi Coast. No, it's the Amalfi Coast there. You're talking about Italy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Amalfi Coast. It's down there along the side of it, the sort of like the western side of Italy.
Around here?
No, it's down like further.
Down here near Naples?
Yeah, somewhere around that area. That's sort of like the Amalfi Coast area down that way.
How do you spell that?
AMALFI.
Oh, there it is, right
Look
here.
at that. Yeah, man, look at that. Now, tell me that doesn't look nice. That looks super nice.
That does look super cool. Matthew has always wanted to go to Italy. We've never been able to make it to Italy because it's been so sadly. I don't know when that ever happened, but one day it may. And we will go to the Amalfi Coast, and we will go to Rome, hopefully. That would be cool as well. And also another thing that I got to say about that, K-Dub Janky, is that you are correct. Ancient Greece, Imperial Rome, and the British Empire really turned the United States into what it is today and really allow us to be who we are because they all had such important molding characteristics that really impacted not just American culture, but really every culture around the world. Rome and Greece were really the ones to give the Western European world the kind of footing that it has to be able to have self-determining governments, which is something that is incredibly interesting and really special to this corner of the globe here around the Western European region. And so I have to say, I completely agree with you, K-Dub Janky, on that. Roman influence is incredibly important. And also, really interesting here that LSA daily operations in Italy will begin at 0400. A lot like most of our European viewers who have to get up around that time too, which I am so sorry about. Like, I really do feel bad about that, and I hate that all of our European viewers have to get up so early, but I also thank y'all for always tuning in and joining us every single day, because a lot of y'all make up such an interesting part of the character of this channel, and I gotta thank y'all for being here. Well, there's also another cool thing I want to share with y'all. This is incredibly cool, is right here. This is, let me think of the name. It is Ancient Ostia, because there is an actual modern-day Ostia, which is... Let me see here. It is right here, actually. Here is Ostia of the modern day. And some of y'all may find this really interesting. At one point, this was actually a port city that led to Rome that was on the sea. And now I think it's about 10 miles away from the coastline, where it is right now. And some of y'all might be like, wow, that's kind of weird. How in the world did that happen? It happened because all of the sediments that are brought down by the Tiber River eventually ended up fanning out around the mouth of the river, which was about right here, actually, where this turn was. This was literally the edge of the sea, and then eventually the silt and sediments from the river eventually started to create this little area here, and then the river took a sharp turn, and then started depositing its sediments on this side as well, and over the course of about 2,000 years, this area ended up turning from being the coastline to being the inland, which is really cool. But beyond that, just a neat little fact about Rome, and also, I would highly encourage you, K-Dub Janky, while you're in Rome, don't just stay at what I would call the tourist trap part of Rome, which includes the Roman Colosseum, the Forum Romano, all that stuff. Don't stay there. It's cool, yes, really cool. Make sure to go check it out. But make sure to go out to ancient Ostia as well, because it is a well-preserved city. It's unbelievably well-preserved. Let me see if I can drop y'all down in there and show it to y'all. So this is what ancient Ostia looks like, and a lot of it actually still remains somewhat intact, at least close to the foundations, which is really neat when you see these folks posing for the Google panoramic thing. But beyond that, you can also see the bricks that Roman buildings were made of, because they had a lot of brick-made buildings back in the day. Everyone always thinks of ancient Rome being marble, but really most of it was actually brick, which is actually kind of cool about it. But it's just such a cool place. It's like going to Pompeii without going to Pompeii, and without it being as popular. And that's kind of what ancient Ostia is. And so, with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. I hope y'all have a fun time out there. Thank you so much once again, KW Janky, for being here with us tonight and supporting this channel and helping it to be possible. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here on air right now. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And also, let me make sure that I addressed everything I can in that super chat before we move on. And I did. And so with that, thank you greatly once again. And I hope that I was able to even give you a little bit of a travel idea if you hadn't even thought of this place already. I hope you go out here and check it out and let us know what it looks like, because I want to know what it looks like. I've heard really cool things about it, but I've never been able to go to Rome, so I don't know if it's cool or not. But go out there and check it out for us, because I mean, it has to be cool. They even have a almost a fully intact amphitheater right here. Like, they literally just dug this. Cool. Yeah, they literally just dug this crap out of the ground. I mean, like, it practically just didn't even exist. But with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the final question of the segment, and then we're going to be moving on back into the news.
All right, and the last one of this segment goes to Merlin71, who puts in a $25 donation. And huge shout out to you, Merlin, for that support. Hey! Once again, he said, I have nothing special to say. And he puts in the Ukraine flag, and also he puts in, I believe, the French flag as well.
The Netherlands flag, the flag of the Netherlands.
Oh, the Netherlands.
Yeah. The French flag and the flag of the Netherlands are almost the same. It's just that one's flipped on its side. But beyond that, I got to thank you so much for the support, Merlin71. And helping this channel to keep on running. And I gotta say, while you have nothing special to say, your support does help us to keep this thing rolling. And thank you so much, Merlin, for being one of our Dutch viewers as well. Really cool to know. Really neat history about the Netherlands and all that. But we'll save that for a rabbit hole later on in the question segment, the long-form question segment. But still, thank you so much once again, Merlin, for the support. Thank you for helping this channel to keep it running, and thank you for being a part of this incredible Lee Spring Army. And with that, it is now time for us to move on into the rest of our location unknowns and the frontline news. Starting off with our next clip, where we got to see an improved loaf.
Ой, что-то интересное едет впереди.
They're just driving along, and you can see some smoke getting thrown up down the street from the improved loaf.
Новый какой-то сарай. Штурмовой гараж.
Now, what does an improved loaf look like? How can you improve on such a perfect design? Cope cage the entire thing. Like, turn the loaf into a turtle tank. Like, no joke.
This is what happens when Scooby-Doo and the gang want to go tactical. They start welding sheets to the side of it.
Like, Zoing Scoop, we're clearing minefields. Raggy, weld them on. But anyways, really whack to see. And that's the end of the clip. But moving on from that and into our next one, we also got to see that the air defense report was really good. 13 Shaheds were shot down overnight. And moving on from that and into our next bit of news, we also got to see a Humvee carrying around a pretty interesting laser-guided rocket system, the ATACMS. It launches 4 rockets a pop and costs about $22,000 US per rocket, but a really interesting system. We see them moving the Humvee around out there. But isn't that neat? It's pretty neat. I'm not even going to lie. I'm going to answer that question for y'all. It's pretty cool. We now see them setting it up. Backing her up. And now they're going to get to firing. And here we go.
Давайте въебаем нахуй звідси, блядь.
He said, hurry up.
Yeah.
Есть.
And there goes one. Two.
Ты что, ебанутый? Вы что, блядь, не предупреждаете, нахуй?
He's having a fun time. 3.
Охуеть! Да ну его пизду!
день, нахуй. Я хуй маме дід на бабі, нахуй. Рацію віддайте, нахуй. Есть.
And then here comes the Humvee.
Все,
Well,
я
actually,
перезвоню.
oh yeah, here comes the Humvee. It was about to scoot
Oh,
the
I
hell
thought
out
about
of
to
it.
leave them.
Yeah, I thought I was about to
that
leave
guy's
him.
getting left.
I was like, no, come back. What the hell? But anyways, with that, moving on from that and into our next clip, we also got to see pictures of the 93rd Brigade, the Fileld Niar, in training. And look at this fella. He's got an AKM. Like, that's not an AK-74. That's an AKM. Some of y'all would be like, how do you know? I just know. Well, but beyond that, moving on from that and into the next picture, we got to see them in the control room. We got to see them in a basement. This guy's actually got the cup grenade launcher on his AKM. Kind of cool. Kind of neat. And that's the end of that clip. But still, pretty nice to see in 93rd in training. Meanwhile, we got to see that a lot of Russians threw their training to waste today as another 1,300 got wiped out. And oh my God!
Oh my gosh, man. 20 Bobcats? Listen now, that is such a crazy number right there. I see a comment over there in the comment section. And Miss Nisa says that 20 Bobcats is the new record for daily losses of special equipment. That is insane. 20 Bobcats? That's nuts. Also, the other losses are insane too, like in addition to the Bobcats.
Man, the freaking losses are absolutely insane! Oh, dude, that meme down there, man, has so much energy. Like, it has way too much. Like, I'm like, I would want to match that energy. I don't even think I can. Like, and we're pretty high strung as it is, but we can't even match that energy. But beyond that, 1,300 Russian soldiers were wounded and killed over the past 24 hours, along with 33 armored personnel carriers, 56 supply trucks, 8 main battle tanks, 37 artillery systems, 28 drones, 2 MLRSs, and 20 Bobcat skid steers. There were more Bobcat skid steers lost today than there are in usually weeks, which is nice to see and beautiful to know that the Ukrainians are out there absolutely beating them. But moving on from that, now the casualty report, it's now time for us to move on up there into the northern areas around Vovchansk, because we actually got to see one of these Bobcat skid steers that were destroyed right there. It's a Russian excavator that was blown up by the Ukrainians near to the area of Platinivka, which is just north of Vovchansk. Meanwhile, a little bit further south, the Russians are still not making any ground, but they are certainly trying to bomb the hell out of Vovchansk to at least give it a little bit of effort. It's not getting them anywhere, but they're trying, and they're failing. And we can see the damage that was been caused to Vovchansk, and we also got to see a video of the shelling that was happening today. And so here's the clip. And we're going to be muting that, but we can see here, this is actually filmed by the Russians, and we can see the Russian bombardment continuing to hit Vovchansk and try and uproot the Ukrainian forces inside the town, but this is proving to be completely unsuccessful for the Russians. We see them showing off a intact row of houses, but I have a feeling the Russians are planning on changing that soon. We can also see all the damage that has been caused to the commie blocks throughout the city. I was trying to figure out what in the world I was going to call those. Khrushchevska, Brezhnevska, commie blocks, and that one commie blocks. I mean, you see the Russians continuing to hit the central area of Vovchansk. Now we can see a little warning pop up at the bottom of the screen on the drone as the drone continues to look around, and that's the end of the clip. And we see a Russian outro here. Everyone's really getting into these outros. But anyways, moving on from that, the city is being heavily bombarded, but I will prove to y'all there has been literally no frontline change. This is the 29th. And this is the 28th. See a difference? No, me either. There is no difference. The Russians are literally held in place right now. They're trying, but they're failing. Moving on from that and out of that area, it's time to move on into the northern front, where we got to see that the Russians are using a magic bathtub to supply their forces in the area. Check it out. That is literally a bathtub, and it moves. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
It's a robotic bathtub. Is that what that is?
I think so. It looks like it's getting caught up on like a lot of dips and like crannies, but They made a mobile bathtub supply system.
Yeah, that thing's definitely not going good. It's getting stuck. It's not budging.
You know, Matthew, if they made one of these out of a toilet, I guess you could say that the Russians are in the shitter, you know, like or something like that. But right now, it looks like they're just getting bathed in Ukrainian rain. But anyways, moving on from that and further down the line to Kremenna, we also got to see that the Russian artillery got counter batteried in this area today. But anyways, we can see the artillery right there. The Ukrainians are lining it up for a good counter battery. But you can actually see that it fired right there, and now it's getting hit by Ukrainian artillery in return. And Ukrainian artillery is not as inaccurate as Russian artillery. The Russians pay a heavy price for even trying.
You know, are you sure that the bathtub thing... Are you sure that wasn't actually something that Ukraine sent in for the Russians as like a joke, like to take a bath?
I don't know. I think it was actually a Russian thing. Like, they stole a bathtub out of a house, and then were like, you know what, let's use it as a supply vehicle. Maybe. That's what I think it was.
They ought to consider using the bathtub to actually take a bath, like, for a change.
Man, those Russians, they don't know how to bathe. They stink.
Hell no. They're stinking. And also their trenches on their encampments always look like garbage, like a garbage scowl.
Man, you using that line straight from Star Trek, aren't you?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, we can see the Russians down there. They're like, please, put it out, please. They're trying to put out the fire on the T-30. And that's the end of that clip. But ooh-wee. I wouldn't want to be those Russians. Moving on from that out of the Kremenna area and down towards the area of Bakhmut, we also got to see that a BM-21 Grad got hit today with a full load. It blew up like a Roman candle. There's the Grad. And any second now. And there it goes.
Oh.
Every single rocket tube probably had a Grad rocket inside of it, and all of it went up in one chain explosion. That was nuts.
Man, that was a freaking big, that was a huge load on that truck.
Man, that was a big load. I heard you almost say it.
I was trying to word it so carefully. Yeah, I was trying to word it so carefully. I was like, oh, well, let me try to reword that.
Man, someone's going to go in the chat. He said it. Yeah, yeah, I said it. I said it deliberately. But we can see here the mushroom cloud, and we can hear the Russians going, "Hey guys, Vlad here. Top story. My grid got blown up." But beyond that, nice to see that they were able to obliterate the Grad. And look, it's gone. It's atomized down there. It's just like little chunky bits on the ground. But there's no vehicle left out of that. But with that, we're now going to be moving on from that little clip and down towards the front line of Bakhmut, where we got to see the Russians driving along the front. And it was depressing. Like more depresso, please, because they are driving through a graveyard. There is a destroyed T-80, it appears.
Все, едем домой.
Едем домой.
Вроде все нормально.
Ракетсон нормальный. Блин. And what's this up the road? Are those their comrades? Are they the reinforcements for the guys on the street? No. No, these are blown up BMPs and main battle tanks. There's no one left alive around here. There's a destroyed BMP-2 and a T-72B3. Oh, and look! Fresh fire! Fresh meat! For the war machine. A couple of destroyed BTRs. This looks like a brand new knocked out BTR that's still on fire. And they're just going to idly roll on by, of course knowing that this is a killing field because there's multiple vehicles that have been destroyed and were just destroyed, but they're still going to drive through.
There's a little WD-40 on this vehicle, though.
And dude, this BTR right here sounds like Friss's mom when she goes to bed at night. But beyond that, moving on from that clip and into our next one out of the Bakhmut area and down towards Avdiivka, because by the way, I'm just putting this out there, full disclaimer. Y'all are probably wondering, why am I blowing through frontline areas? Like, I'm just like, here's Kremenna, here's Bakhmut. There were no frontline advances today at all to even speak of. of any large kind, so there is no point because there's nothing we can really get out of any frontline changes that happen today. It's largely a stagnant situation. The Ukrainians are holding the front lines so well, we don't even really have to worry about the Russians and what they plan on doing because they're never going to get around to what they plan on doing. So moving on out of the Bakhmut area and down into the area of Avdiivka, we got to see today that some Ukrainians had to end up abandoning a Bradley that got hit, but we got this kind of cool looking movie-like video out of it as they evacuated in the back of an M113. Well, actually, I think this was another Bradley that they're leaving out of, but we can see them rolling away and the Bradley over there smoking after it was hit. And the door closing behind them. And that's the end of the clip, but really interesting to see a little bit of action out there in the Avdiivka area. Moving on from that, we also got to see that a Russian BTR-80 got barbecued. Sadly, that's apparently a little too touchy to look at. So we're going to move on down towards the area of Orlivka, where we got to see that an M1 Abrams rolled out there onto the front and started firing off some rounds at the Avdiivka coke plant. By the way, like that bass. Listen to that. Oh, that was nice. But anyways, well, you see the Abrams firing at the coke plant. And that thing's got some range. Goodness me. And there goes another. Looks like they're trying to hit some kind of a tower at the top of the coke plant, possibly trying to kill some scouts that are up there in the higher part of the building. That may be what they're going for. And we can now see that they switched target and they went for another tower. They're hitting both of them with HE. And with that,
this video looks so dystopian though. Like, go back and like show that part of them shooting toward that thing. Like, just watch that. It's like you're looking at a dystopian world here. They're firing at the thing. It looks like they're firing at like a little mock city out there in the distance like that, with it all looking all cloudy and overcast and stuff. It looks terrible.
You know what it really looks like? It looks like a war going on in like eastern China. Like it's like industrial smog covering the entire land, and they're firing into a factory. It kind of looks like they're fighting in China. But anyways, it does look a little dystopian. It's really gray out there, kind of communist. And luckily the Ukrainians are fighting against those dirty commies. But moving on from that, and also, by the way, I don't think the Russians are really commies. I think they're more so imperialists at this point. But hey, you know, it's motto. They're fighting against the bad guys. Anyways, moving on from that and down into the city of Donetsk, we also got to see that there was a massive explosion that happened in Donetsk today. Here is the clip farthest away from the explosion. And there's the explosion. And then the clip ends. Moving on from that and into our next clip, we then got to see another clip of the explosion. This one literally right next door when it blew up. Oh yeah?
Oh. Man, those kids with that loud drum and bass.
And then we got this one, which honestly was hilarious. I don't know. I feel like we might get copyrighted on this one because this guy is playing some loud drum and bass. I don't know. I would want to play it, but I'm kind of scared of YouTube censors, so we're going to mute it. And then we're just going to show the clip of the explosion from this angle. Also,
oh, look, there's like a devil logo going across the screen.
Dude, wait, no, man. Hang on, better yet, Matthew. Let's go back and look at that logo. Oh, people of France. Vive la France. It's just like, that's the logo of, like, you read it left or right. It's like, what the hell is this logo? But anyways, there it goes. And now we're back to the film. Oh, here it is.
Oh, the logo's
back
bouncing
again.
around like that DVD symbol used to do on those old, like, DVDs.
Is he going to come back? Hey, there it is again.
Oh, yeah, it's bouncing around just like it.
Oh, my Lord.
Like reminiscent of childhood, minus the devil symbol in the middle.
Dude, look at that. That is so stupid looking. I don't even know what it is. But here's the explosion right here. Ooh.
Oh.
Oh, we can see they're speeding up now. Oh, they're really. Oh my gosh, look at all that debris. Dude, it's taking down telephone poles and everything. Oh my Lord. And when you see the watermark logo is still just chilling, kind of bopping around as everyone's in chaos. These guys almost got ran over, by the way, if y'all didn't see that right there. Look at them. Almost got ran over. And that's the end of that clip, but wow, what an explosion. And also, by the way, that was a strike on a military headquarters in the middle of Donetsk, if y'all were wondering what in the world that explosion was and what it was targeting. It was a military headquarters of the Russian armed forces inside of the city of Donetsk. Moving on from that and down into southern Ukraine, we also get to see that the Ukrainians were able to destroy a little buke. They rebuked it from the land. Wonderful to know. Another great air defense system destroyed that the Russians will never get back. But moving on from that, we also get to see a YPR-765 rolling around with a load of cope cage. Kind of neat to see. Nice to know that they're using the Dutch-provided M113s, the modified M113s, and it's just a happy world down there overall in the southern front. Not really a lot's going on, to be quite honest. But with all of that in mind, it is now time for us to move on up to Kyiv and cover that speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day, let's see, how in the world did I forget the day? Day 826 of the war. And so, without further ado, here is...
Give us speech, please. Give us speech. We want a good speech. Oh, it's 4 minutes long today. Good speech.
Here is the speech. We want peace. But anyways, here's the speech.
Дорогі українці, українки, сьогодні наша вдячність Швеції. Є новий, дуже вагомий військовий пакет для наших воїнів, суттєве зміцнення. Вчора в дорозі в Україну після відрядження якраз говорив з паном прем'єр-міністром Крістерсоном і про ситуацію на полі бою, і про те, що нам зараз потрібно. Ми працюємо по максимуму, щоб зробити більш ефективною нашу ППО, і Швеція надає Україні спеціальні літаки радіолокаційного спостереження, також в цьому пакеті бронемашини і снаряди. Загальний обсяг пакету майже 1 мільярд 200 мільйонів євро. Дякую, Швеція. Один із найбільш принципових наших партнерів. І завдяки Швеції вже тисячі життів в Україні врятовані. Сьогодні ж заслухав доповідь главкома, начальника Генштабу, міністра оборони нашої держави щодо ситуації на фронті зараз, щодо наших дій. Увага усім напрямкам, і особливо Покровському та Курахівському на Донеччині, а також Куп'янському та іншим напрямкам на Харківщині. Вдячний кожному підрозділу, який робить все необхідне для того, щоб стабілізувати фронтову ситуацію. Готуємось і до подальшої активності ворога, чітко розуміємо, які завдання та з якою метою Путін ставить своїй армії, буде йому наша відповідь обов'язково. І так само готуємо наші дипломатичні відповіді на російські намагання послабити саміт миру, який вже за 2 тижні розпочнеться. Зірвати саміт Росія вже не зможе, хоча й дуже старається це зробити, тисне на лідерів, відверто погрожує різним державам дестабілізацією. І це один із наслідків того, що світ дав державі-терористу забагато часу. На жаль, зло вміє адаптуватись, зараз використовує свої ресурси, щоб розколоти світ і не дати примусити Росію до миру, але з нами вже зараз майже 100 держав та міжнародних організацій, які долучаються до глобальних зусиль. Сьогодні провів тривалу нараду з усіма нашими посадовцями, які працюють на підготовку саміту. Були і команда Офісу, і урядовці, і прем'єр-міністр, міністри, і Верховна Рада. Була представлена спікер парламенту по лінії міжпарламентських зв'язків. Зараз контактує з багатьма державами. Поставив завдання майже в щоденному режимі давати деталізацію по державам, які ще потребують нашої роботи, щоб бути на саміті із державами, які вже підтвердили свою участь, щоб саміт був саме таким дієвим, який потрібен для наближення реального миру. Дякую всім лідерам, які допомагають. Дякую кожному і кожній в світі, хто цими днями буквально на телефоні, постійно у контактах, у перемовинах, щоб цей глобальний формат міг стати прикладом того, як спільна робота різних націй світу може відновлювати дієвість статуту ООН і примушувати агресора до миру. Сьогодні говорив з прем'єр-міністром Австралії. Австралія теж підтвердила свою участь у саміті. Говорив із генсеком ООН про підготовку саміту, про те, як важливо, щоб система ООН була дієвою, щоб ООН завжди була частиною дійсно миротворчих зусиль. І кожен день надалі буде таким же активним в нашій міжнародній роботі заради України, заради нашої незалежності, нашого миру. Слава Україні!
And Hiram
And
Slava.
Hiram Slava.
And with that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky, and that's going to be moving us on into the second segment of this stream, where we get to talk to all of y'all about anything and everything y'all want to talk about, whether it be your vacation plans, like K-Dub Jenke brought up earlier, which were really cool, or you just want to say something nice about the channel, or you want to ask a question about Ukraine, Taiwan, the Middle East, anything at all. We can talk about it. Literally anything. But before we do, I just wanted to bring this up for a quick moment because I was looking around, Matthew. I was curious. I was like, how in the world did we do last night? I was just wondering. You know how people wonder, Matthew, and you're like, where in the world were we in the world last night? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So I went and I checked and I tried to find, and some people are wondering, why in the world are you talking about? Well, every once in a while we do look at the rankings, or really the ratings more so, if you want to call them that, because there is a website out there called Playboard that will categorize all of the live streams that ran on YouTube last night. They actually gather all of the stats on every live stream running, and then they put the top 100 largest live streams on YouTube up on a chart and show what the top 100 were every single day, and it updates every single day. And it turns out we were number 78 yesterday. We were in the top 100.
Dang. We were on the 100 again? That's crazy.
Yeah. Let's see who we beat. Oh, hey, look. Dateline NBC. Agenda Free TV.
Facts. He's spitting facts in number 87 spot. Facts.
Actually, you were not number 78 because, facts. Thank you. Thanks. In Ninja? Dude, we beat Ninja? Wasn't he like a big gamer guy like a while ago?
No, man, don't diss him like that now. He's still big.
Yeah, he's still big.
He's huge.
He's still big, but how in the hell did we beat him?
I don't know, man. He must have just had a lower night. He must have been streaming a game that nobody liked.
Well, it looks like he was playing Fortnite. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, well,
it looks like he was playing Fortnite, but who else? The National Hockey League. We beat them.
Oh no, that's a shocker. That's a shocker.
That is a shocker because sports is always up at the top. Like entertainment things are always up at the top. But who was above us? Like I'm interested in that. Let's see here. Anyone I know.
You know that we also a fun fact, by the way. Very, very distant. I believe we're related to Ninja. Like very, very distant.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
We actually are. Like we're very, 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 very distant relatives to Ninja. Like funnily enough, like I said, we found that out one day. We were like, what? And then we're like, because we'll never beat the guy. But still, that's kind of cool to know. But anyways, PBS beat us. Let's see here. Who else? See here, looking. Max Velocity beat us, of course. Like Max Velocity is always up at the top. Let's see, who else? Coco Melon beat us. Let's see here, Disney Junior NBA beat us. Let's see, Timcast beat us. Let's see here, who else? Dr. Disrespect beat us. The H3 podcast.
H3 podcast.
No way. I can't believe they're still around. like I actually cannot believe. I thought they were gone. Wait a minute. Timcast was on here twice. Did you see that, Matthew? Like Timcast down here, and then up here. Mm-hmm. Timcast IRL. Well, he's on here twice, and then Tesla beat everyone like by a long shot. Even Taylor Swift.
There's two Teslas.
Yeah. Like what the hell?
Like what the hell?
And also, why in the world does this one say Kwanzaa? Like. And this one
I was told yesterday that one of those might be some kind of like not really the Tesla account, if you know what I mean. I don't know if that's true or not, but one of them I think is real and one of them might not be real.
Also, what's up with this one that says Cuban music and salsa? Like, I don't think either of these are the real Tesla. Like, I don't think so, but still interesting. But hey, we were number 78. That is pretty wild. Number 78 in the world. We were in the top 100. And I thank everyone in the Elite Spring Army for constantly watching this show to the point that we were in the top 100, because that's crazy to think we are. Like that's why I had to look at this, because the one day we ended up in the top 5, I think we were number 5. I was like, there's no way. Like we never think about this stuff. beyond just running this channel. We run the channel, and if we have nights like tonight where we're at 14,000 live viewers, we just get off air, we're like, wow, that was a really big night, and that's that. We never thought about it until I started finding out about this website, that they put out the top 100, and we're usually in the top 100, which is really bizarre. But anyways, with that, I hope that does just kind of show that, not to brag, not to flex, but that is really cool, and I thank all of y'all for always being here and watching this channel, to where somehow by the grace of good fortune, we were always up in the top 100. Have no clue why. And I don't even know why all of y'all watch this channel, but thank y'all. It really is incredible. But with that, it is time for us, Matthew, to move on into the questions. And so, Matthew, I understand that we asked the audience a whole bunch of questions. And what kind of questions did we ask them, and what were they thinking about them?
All right, so it's now time to jump into our final question segment of the night. Before we get to our super chats, though, we have one more poll to address. And the question on the poll says, do you think that Putin will be forced to call a mandatory general mobilization of the Russian people? It looks like 69%. Nice. Said yes. Putin will be forced to call one due to the major losses, while 12% said no, Putin knows it would absolutely end him, and 11% said probably so, but not anytime soon. And for me, I'm going to be with the 69%, nice, because I think that the losses are so big inside of Ukraine that Putin is going to be forced to mobilize the entire country at some point to combat the Ukrainians. And also, in addition to that, he could do it because he has once again made these threats toward the West that if weapons are used on the mainland Russian territory, then that could mean war against the West. We're going to have to wait and see on that one. I think it's a lot of hot air, but of course there is the possibility he could escalate even further, but we'll have to wait and see. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say I think he will be forced to conduct a full mobilization of the Russian Federation because they have to win. It's not a matter of they can win over time. They have to win this year. If they do not win this year, it's over. So he has to conduct a full mobilization, because if they don't, they have no chance in hell of even having a slight gleam of winning the war. It will never happen. So with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. Kind of going off of what I was talking about earlier about why Putin is so desperate and starting to say to get everyone on the same page in Russia that it is going to be a full mobilization. He's saying that for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. The war will end for Russia by next year, guaranteed. Something will collapse, and there's just no way for them to carry this on any longer. So they have to conduct a full mobilization now and try and beat Ukraine while they can, or they'll never have the chance again, and the war, in fact, will be over before they even get a chance at all beyond this point. So with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, so that was our last poll question to address. So we are now, of course, moving into our super chat questions, and our first one, once again, is going to go to, this time, Wes Fry, who puts in a very generous $100 donation. Massive support, and thank you very much, Wes, for that huge support. He said, books for Taiwan Research Fund, and I might want to think about a collab with real-life lore, kings and generals, etc., and just a thought, and maybe y'all can learn some map making / animation to expand the old toolbox.
Hey, and I thank you so much for the support, Wes Fry. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And also, thank you for supporting the Taiwan Book Fund, because it is something that I really want to learn about. And of course, to start off, you have to have a really good foundation on understanding battle order. Like it's really just battle order, and then you move on to doctrine, and then you move on to like general strategy of the Chinese government as far as foreign policy is concerned, and then putting all of that together, you get what one side looks like and what they plan on doing. And then you move on to Taiwan, and then you do the same thing with them. So I get to thank you so much for supporting that. And also, those are some pretty cool channels. I have watched them in the past, I will admit. Kings and Generals, and also Real Life Lore. And also, there was a video, by the way, I don't know if any of y'all saw this, but I got a huge laugh out of this. It was like every Real Life Lore video ever. And it was like this guy, and he was like, actually, you wouldn't believe why most of this country is empty. And then they're like, because it's desert and you can't live there. But now I'm going to pat the video for 40 minutes with my smooth animating skills and my soft low tone and tell you all about all kinds of things and whisper sweet nothings to you. And like, it was the funniest thing ever. And what was even funnier was that Real Life Lore actually watched the video and commented on it. This is great. Like, he actually put it in the comment. I was busting out laughing at that whole thing. But I really like that channel, Real Life Lore, and Kings and Generals is pretty good too. Also, really quickly, if we're going to give shout outs, and I'm fine with giving shout outs to people who are outside the Ukraine war category, because I'm suspecting that they're not backstabbers like everyone is in this genre. There is a really cool YouTube channel called Battle Order, and Battle Order is really good at explaining the battle order of units and different kinds of brigades and stuff like that, like this CV-90 and Boxer infantry squads of the Dutch army, and also the 75th Rangers rifle squad loadout, and talking about that. I watch loads of these videos, and they're very well researched, very well put together. I can't recommend them enough, and they're very interesting videos, kind of, to be honest, kind of on the stuff that I'm interested in and would like to make videos on myself. But, you know, then again, this guy kind of has that space, so I'll have to come up with, like, a kind of a unique and original thing, or a unique and original approach to this, which is what we're going to start working on. But
I'm with everybody in the live chat. Like I was telling the Enforcer earlier, I said, to me, the animation idea of doing a long form video with animation in it is not really up my alley. Not that there's anything wrong with it, it's just not my thing. Also, it's super expensive to get animators to do long form animations like that. You're talking about in the neighborhood of probably like 10,000 plus per video, which is an insane amount of money. I'm not sure if we could even manage that, to be honest. Like, I think we'd go broke. But I just like a normal format video. Like, you know, before we had done like this sort of like weird, odd style with some early form videos we did, where it was almost like slideshow animations, but not quite that basic, but sort of along those lines in a more advanced form would probably be a better way to go.
Probably so. But really quickly, when I talk about animations,
when the Chinese
I'm not gonna play his video, but I'll show y'all something of an animation that I would be into, and let me see if I can find one. Because there's not really a lot of them. So this would be kind of like an animation idea that I would be thinking of if we did an animation. Something like this. Like you know, that's not too much. That's not too difficult. You know, but it would be pretty cool to do things like that. They wouldn't be incredibly complex animations though. It might be stuff like this as well, like the pop-up of the SPG or the SPH that you're seeing here on screen. That would be pretty cool to do, to explain some things here and there. But it wouldn't be extremely complex animations like you would see on a channel like Real Life Lore, because Real Life Lore has to be, like, not only are their thumbnails unequivocally bussin' every time, like, you look at these thumbnails and you're like, damn, those are some good thumbnails. Not only that, the animations in the videos are sick. Like, this is Adobe After Effects using a plugin. I forgot what the name of the plugin is, but like, you have to be really good at working Adobe After Effects to get animations like these, showing the outline in South China Sea, having the slow camera zoom, all that stuff. Like, this is incredibly in-depth, and it would take a long time for us to learn. It would take about a couple of months to be able to even do something like this, but it just looks so freaking good. I mean, look at that. I mean, that looks really good to me. I like it. It makes things easier to explain, but still, it would be very difficult to do. So we wouldn't be able to do something like that, but y'all will see what we'll be able to do. But still, with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and thank you so much for the support, West Fry. And I would love to team up with other YouTube channels like that and do collaboratives where we could end up making something together. It probably wouldn't be incredibly common to do something like that, though. But if we could ever try and do anything along those lines, that would be incredibly cool, and we would love to do that, especially if it's covering a topic that everyone's interested in, like East Asia with Taiwan and China, or the Korean Peninsula, or East Asia as a whole, or even the Middle East or Eastern Europe, or even other topics that don't really have to pertain with war or diplomacy in that regard going on in the future. We could do all kinds of things. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, West Fry, and thank you so much once again for the incredible support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here right now. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to Nick LSA, and a huge shout out to the first couple of the LSA, by the way, Nick and Carrie Ann. And then Nick put in a $20 support. Big thanks to you. He said, I'm still recovering. He said, but I'm almost out of my sling. And stay strong, LSA family. Know we are with you during your difficult time. And LLT LSA. And I'm glad to hear you're recovering, Nick, by the way, as well, because that was a hell of a situation you were in right there with the whole recovery situation. I'm glad to hear it's going good, and that's always, of course, a good thing. I mean, you could be like the Russians, who are never going to recover. But, Enforcer, what are you going to say?
Well, I got to thank you so much for the massive support, Nick. And also, I'm happy to hear that you're recovering from that surgery well. The path to recovery from surgeries can be so long sometimes, and it can be arduous, I've heard. Luckily, I've never had to go through one. But I'm glad to hear that it's going incredibly well. I hope that you continue to be on the up and up. And make sure to stay strong yourself, Nick. Not only is the LSH strong, but you're a strong person as well for getting through this and getting on the stream so quick. Because I remember Carrie Ann was like, oh, he'll be back on really soon. It was like 4 days after your surgery, you were back on. We were like, dang, we were like, he's on fast. And of course, not only is the whole LSA with everyone during their difficult times, I hope that the LSA has been able to be here for you, Nick LSA, during your difficult time of recovering from that surgery. But still, nevertheless, long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Jose Garcia, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Jose, for that support. He said, as always, perfect analysis, and keep it up, and love Ukraine.
Hey, and thank you so much for the kind words and saying that's perfect analysis. We try our best. Sometimes we're a little off the mark, because, no one's ever perfect. But I thank you so much for saying that it's perfect. That is incredibly kind praise of you. And I thank you so much for enjoying this channel enough and enjoying our analysis enough to support the channel and help us to keep this thing running. That's just incredibly kind of you, incredibly cool of you. And I thank you so much once again and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you so much once again for supporting this channel and making this thing a reality. And so thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are moving on to the next one. But thank you so much once again for the support. And also, I would have to second that, what Matthew said in the chat to the person who said that, never in my life, period, ever. And also, Barry Badgernath got it right. That guy talks out of both sides of his face, which is easy for him because his mouth is so big. But he sits there and says he'll never work with us, and then he'll also say that he'll work with us just to try and make us look bad. But the guy is a lying snake bastard. I would never trust a single word that comes out of his mouth, and we will never work with that guy, and we will never do anything to promote him in any single way. That's why we never say his name. That's why he wants us to say his name. He's like, say my name. And it's like, no, you're not getting that credit. You're not even getting that.
He's just a lying little punk.
Yeah, and also the guy is a rage baiter. You'll see that because he will not only attack us, he'll go on an orbit of whoever he wants, just attacking everyone, so that way he can try and grift viewers off of them because he's so boring he can't get them normally. So that's my answer to that. Very, very strongly opinionated on that one. We would never work with that guy, period. And also, he would never work with us. He just says that crap so that way folks like you who don't know the story will think, oh, look, they're not wanting to work with him. No, it's not that. The guy would never work with us anyways. And also, the guy's threatened us physically in the past and a whole bunch of other things. Never working with that guy, period. No.
I like how he's trying. I like the whole, the way it's phrased and the whole way it's presented. Like we're being presented with the fortunate opportunity to work with this guy right here who's a lying dog. It's like, that's not exactly a golden opportunity, by the way. It's like, and also it's like, it's more like it would be a golden opportunity to work with us, by the way, because it's like we've raised a hell of a lot more money for Ukraine. And it's like, Hot Dog Man is boring as hell to listen to. So it's like, what exactly is he bringing to the table except for just a lying dogma?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's stupid, and then if you want to talk about it from a YouTube perspective, it's like we're constantly in the top 100 on the charts every week. It's just a thing. That's not a bragging right or anything. That just is what it is. And we're supposed to team up with someone who gets like 400 live viewers a night whenever they even run a show. It's like, yeah, it's like, I'm not really a big fan of that. It's like, and on top of that,
you don't want to pass this opportunity up, I'm telling you.
Man, it's an opportunity of a lifetime. It's like, no.
Don't let it slip by you.
Watch out. wow, you know, it's like, wow, we're really going to be missing out. We're really going to be missing out to work with an absolute loser. Like, there's just no other, like just absolute loser. There's, we're really missing out.
Man, I'm getting a FOMO over this one. I'm telling you what, the FOMO's setting in strong.
Man, I'm telling you what, man. I'd like, maybe we ought to take him up on that opportunity, because there is like, working with that big of a loser, that is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You just want to see one like that again. Maybe we'll follow through. Or maybe the guy will come down here and follow through on his threat of trying to like realign our jaws or whatever the hell the guy said. But anyways, that's a once in a lifetime.
I ain't even got to see the orthodontist no more. He's gonna come down here and do it for free the whole time, man.
He's gonna fix my underbite.
Oh, thank God, for free.
Man, but I'm okay, though, because I got that fat onto my neck like belt armor on a battleship. Man, you just punch it, just bounce around a little. It'll be fine. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well, at least the best I can, because I saw that in the chat, and I saw you address it, Matthew, and I was like, oh, I gotta hop in on that. I was like, that's a bit of action I just can't miss out on. But with that, I hope that does address that the best. And you know what, by the way, since we're on the topic of pissing off hot dog men, let me make sure to doubly piss them off, because I'm sure that this will be the next hit piece. But make sure to go to enforcerstore.com and get yourself a nice LSAT and a combat patch if you're in the United States. Sadly, international viewers cannot get the combat patch. We're gonna work it out.
Let me say this though, real quick though. I'm working. I don't want to make this guarantee, but I want to give some hope here. Don't want to get your hopes up too high though, so keep them kind of low. But I'm working on potentially finding a way to get the patches to the international audience, because I feel really bad about not being able to get those to you, especially during this current run, where I'm trying to see if maybe I can sneak that in before we end this current merch run, maybe for just a couple of days if I can get it figured out soon enough. But I'm going to see if I can figure something out. Don't get your hopes up too high, because it may not be possible. But I'm going to try to look into it. Try to finagle something to make it work, but we'll see.
And so I hope that addresses the whole patch thing well, but for now, just so that way I can make it clear tonight, sadly, no international viewers can get the patch tonight. We might be able to fix that by the end of this week or closer to the end of the limited edition run, but everyone can get the LSA t-shirt. It comes in multiple colors, comes in black, military green, which is looking bussin', charcoal, which is looking pretty good, navy blue, which is probably the best looking one, and then you have light blue, which is pretty good looking too, and then you have light pink. But overall, you can get as many of these things as you want. They are $25 a pop. They are Gildan unisex crew neck t-shirts. They are made of 100% soft cotton, grown and harvested here in the United States. And also, they are that classic style to ensure a relaxed fit. So this isn't like one of those like form-fitting shirts. This is more so your loose-fitting shirt, which are the ones I personally wear. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And of course, 10% of all the profits go to United 24. We donate those at the end of the limited edition merch run. And it's just wonderful. We love it. We love it. It's great. And if you want one, get one. If you don't want one, you don't have to get one. But if you want one, get one. And you can get a load of them. And also, if you want the patches, get loads of those too. The t-shirts are $25 a pop, and also the patches are $10 a piece as well. Those are about the lowest prices that we could actually get on these things. But also, one more thing. If you get one of these combat patches, which look pretty cool by the way, you can put these things on anything. I think they're backed with Velcro.
Yeah, it's got the hook Velcro attached to the back of the patch, and also it's coming with a adhesive like the loop side of the Velcro, so you can slap that on literally anything and stick it on the Velcro, and you can remove it anytime you want. Or you can just simply put that part to the side and just like put it on a hat, a backpack that already has like Velcro strip on it, and it'll work on that as well.
Man, I'm telling you what, it would be really cool to see these things out there. I know a lot of y'all are actually currently serving, so if you got that patch, I mean, you may be outside of out of uniform regulations, but if you put it on the patch and took a picture, that would be cool. Like, that would be pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And of course, make sure to get some while you can. We're going to be running this limited edition run till the end of this week on Saturday. I will say this, though. There is a little bit of a chance we'll extend this. I don't know how long we're going to extend it. Some people want us to extend it a few days. Some people want us to extend it a whole extra week. We don't really know at the point. We don't really know if we're going to extend this at all. But beyond that, I will make sure to try and see about extending this as much as we can. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And now, with that, we are on to the next one. But also, I'm seeing a whole bunch of people in the chat. Surprised to us that I like the black and the army green. I love the army green, and I love the navy blue one. The black looks really good too, but the navy blue one, I think it just beats them all. And let's see here. Let's see. And someone says, is there a Ukrainian company to make T-shirts for overseas viewers? I don't know about that. And also, that would be really hard to logistically handle as well, because we wouldn't even be over there. Like, we would just have to hope that everything would be running fine. And let's see here.
Also, by the way, the patches are coming straight to Enforcer HQ, and then we ship them out from here. So it would be super difficult to find a way to put the patches in the EU and have somebody ship them from there, because we would literally be at the mercy of someone. They'd be like, we've got all your patches, and they're not going nowhere. And we'd be like, oh, God, they stole our patches. We'd be screwed.
Man, dude, we'd be like, no. Wait. We'd be like, please don't do it. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so our next one goes to Point of Guinness, who puts in a $20 donation.
Hey!
I'm telling you what, Point of Guinness, it's good to have a pint sometimes of Guinness. He says, some are predicting Russia will collapse within the next 30 to 40 days, as a lot of public servants are not being paid their wages, just like the Russian soldiers and mass protests have already started.
And I thank you for the support. And I have not heard about that, actually. I have heard about some public servants not getting paid, but I have not heard about them possibly collapsing. I didn't know that it was that bad, if it is. And there went my esophagus.
No.
That's it. But beyond that, I would have to say, it was very interesting to hear Point of Guinness. And let's see here. Wages. Huh. I'll be honest with you, Point of Guinness. I'm almost taking that like you're giving me the news. I'm going to have to wait and see if that does happen, because at the moment, I don't really have a lot of information to work off of with that to be able to talk about it one way or the other. But still, I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because folks like you make it possible, and we're going to see if that ends up being true. And if it does, I'm going to credit you with giving us the heads up on that. And so, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And thank you, Point of Guinness, for also being a longtime viewer and an old guard as well. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again.
All right, and our next one goes to Howard Turgell, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Howard, for that support. He said, may Putin see firepower coming through his window.
See firepower? What? What?
Howard Turgell said, may Putin see firepower coming through his window.
Like, just straight through the window? like just like that? Like,
oh, anyways, he started blasting.
Dude, just stick a freaking like 380 millimeter gun right through the window from a battleship. Just blast them. But beyond that, I like that, Howard. And thank you for your third super chat to the channel ever. And I'd have to say, put some firepower right through the window. So it's, dude, that's what we're going to say, man. If we ever get drafted to fight against China, we're gonna run up to the little house, man, that the PLA Marines are in, man. I'm gonna say, man, put some firepower through the window. Oh man, but anyways, with that, thank you so much once again for support, Howard, and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that well, and thank you for putting in a good one. I respect it. And so with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you so much once again.
All right, and up next, we have a $20 super chat from BC Skyman, the channel legend. And he put in that 20, and sadly, no comment. But of course, BC, thank you very much for always supporting the channel and helping to keep us running. It's a huge honor to always get the support. And of course, thank you very much for being around for a very long time. And Enforcer, what say you?
And of course, BC Skyman, I thank you for that cool super sticker. It's the Shiba Inu with the #1 flag. A classic. Real trap. Walk with your boys. Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Where'd you find this?
Where'd you find this? But beyond that is an absolute classic. And BC Skyman, you are an old guard of this channel and a true legend. I got to thank you so much once again for supporting this channel and helping us to keep this thing running. Because folks like you make this thing possible day in and day out. I say that so many times, but I want everyone in the supporters to know how much the support really means in helping us to keep this thing all running along. And I just got to thank you greatly for that. And thank you once again for making this channel a reality. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Scott the Tall Guy, who puts in a $20 donation. And Scott says, here's for the pizza fund. And I'll be going to Italy in 3 weeks with my family, and we'll be staying in Rome. And I'll bring back a pizza recipe for you guys, and please take a question from the live chat.
And I gotta ask this. What's up with everyone going to Rome? What's up with everyone going to Rome? Now it's not just K-Dub Janky, it's also you, Scott. Y'all are all going to be in Rome. Like I guess this is the year of going to Rome for everyone. Everyone's making the pilgrimage. But beyond that, moving on from the funny little joke, it is really appreciated that you're supporting the Pizza Fund. Pizza keeps us alive. It is the sustenance that makes us live. And I got to thank you so much for supporting our Pizza Fund, so that way we can continue to eat that succulent pizza and keep on being who we are. And also, I hope that you have a fun time going to Italy. I don't know how long you'll be there, but you're going there in 3 weeks, so that's not that long away. I hope you have a fun time over there. I hope you enjoy Italy. I hope you enjoy Rome. And I also hope that you get to enjoy all the places outside of Rome. Like, for example, this weird-looking place that looks like it would have been an inland lake at one point that was drained for agricultural reasons. I wouldn't know. I have no idea. But if it was, that's kind of cool. But also, one other thing. When you go to Rome, could you go up? I think it's to this. I think it is this freaking lake. Hang on. Let me think. It is, isn't it? Hang on. Yes, it is! This is the lake where Hannibal ended up beating Hannibal Barca, by the way, not Lecter. Lecter eats people. Hannibal Barca
Hannibal Lecter.
like kills Romans. But this is where the battle happened. One of the battles, I forgot what the name of it was. But it was a battle that happened right on the northern edge of this lake, and Hannibal's Carthaginian army wiped out the Roman army completely. I think there was only like about a few thousand guys that survived, and it's because they were a part of the vanguard that was way up in the mountain pass up here near Lachima, or Lakima, I believe it is. But beyond that, make sure to go up here and check out these places, because it's incredibly cool how much history occurred over the lands of modern Italy because of the Romans. But still, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel keep it running. And I hope you bring back some pizza recipes, because we would love to have some real, genuine Italian pizza. But you know something, Scott the Tall Guy, that's kind of cool about Italian pizza? A cool fact that y'all wouldn't know? Pizza, well, y'all may know it, actually. I don't know. I don't know why I said it like that. But pizza is not necessarily Italian. A bombshell, I know. It's more so American than it is Italian. Like, that will shock a lot of people, and I feel like I'm going to lose all of our Italian subscribers tonight, but let me explain the history behind it. Pizza is a very specific thing, and Italy was, of course, made up of multiple smaller states, much like Germany was up until the later part of the 19th century in the Italian Unification Wars. And so pizza, I believe, was specific to Genoa, if I'm correct. It was like a flatbread. It was not at all like modern pizza, because the ingredients for it were a little bit more sparse, and there was really no meat on modern pizza, well, old classic pizza. It was all like margarita, or is that how you say it, Maddie? It's like a
Margarita.
Yeah, that's how you say it. It was kind of like that pizza every single time. And then when Italian immigrants came to America, there was an abundance of cheap ingredients of meats, cheeses, and also tomato sauces, because tomatoes grew in far larger numbers here in the United States than they did in Italy. And for that reason, the pizza then got its tomato-based sauce here in America, not in Italy. And also, it got its very thick layer of cheese and also meat toppings like pepperoni here in America. And so pizza was not popular in Italy until World War II, when the United States Army started to advance through Italy, and with it, the Italian Americans that had the American type of pizza came back to Italy, was American style pizza that was found nowhere else in Italy at all. The only kind of pizza that there existed was, I believe, in Genoa, and it was not the kind of American pizza that a lot of people would know, and the pizza that a lot of Italians would know today. And so as Americans occupied Italy post-war, and most of them were Italian Americans, they started to teach the native Italians how pizza in America was made. And because there were so many American soldiers that were inside of Italy during the occupation over the next few years that liked American pizza, Italian pizzerias began to pop up across the entire country. So instead of it being just a Genoese thing, it became an Italian thing. And then they started to make pizza in the American way, but with an Italian style. And so the pizza kind of came full circle. Started in Italy, refined in America, brought back to Italy, and then further refined in Italy into the pizza that people would know over there today, which is wildly cool. Like, it's a very interesting fact about that, that you would not know unless if you really looked into Italian food history a good bit. And it's like, that is just really bizarre and really interesting. And Adventure Cavity Stone said, "Stop twisting history." It's true. Like, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up at all. Like well, another thing that might, you know, like, I don't want to have people beat me to death here, but another thing that would be interesting for all of y'all to know is that because of World War II, noodles in Japan almost died. Like, I don't know if y'all know that, but bread almost killed noodles in Japan. The only thing that saved noodles and the noodle industry in Japan is the Ramuchin instant ramen noodles. If it was not for those noodles, noodle culture would have died in Japan and would have been completely replaced by bread. Because before World War II, it was all noodles. Then after World War II, because of cheap imports of grain and really noodles being a little bit more difficult to produce than just normal bread loaves, bread became the popular kind of grain food inside of Japan. And so Ramuchin ramen instant noodles are literally the only reason that ramen noodles or any kind of noodles survived in Japan and then had a rebirth later on at the end of the 20th century. So I hope that does
I
share.
just want to get this straight, though. You're saying that the pizza that was brought over from Italy in America is as fake as the guy like that said in Inglorious Bastards when that Nazi guy asked him, "What's your name?" He said, "Gorlami." Are you saying it's as fake as that?
It's not fake. It's just that pizza has a really strong connection to Italy and America combined, and without one or the other, pizza as we know it now would not exist the way it does, and it wouldn't really be known outside of Genoa for that matter either.
Interesting. I think it's Naples, by the way. I think somebody pointed that out in the live chat too. I think it might have been Naples instead of Genoa.
Pizza. Let me just type in pizza. I'm sure not Pizza Hut. Damn it! Like, what the hell? It gave me a Pizza Hut. I didn't even put in the hut. All right, so pizza. All right. Let's see. Let's see. One second. I gotta get to the part. Let's see.
Hey, Brett B said, Antonio Margaretti. That's what I was thinking. That's what brought the reference
So
of Inglourious Basterds. I was like, that's probably what it was. I was thinking about the whole movie and everything.
yeah, probably so. Probably maybe so.
What you got to say, though? Go right ahead.
But what we got here is that pizza, like the flatbread kind of a thing of pizza, has actually existed since about 997 AD, but it was not at all pizza that we would think of. It was like literally bread with maybe like an oil, like an olive oil on top of it, and maybe a little bit of some stuff, but it was not at all pizza like we would think of. The first original pizza came out of what city? It did come out of Naples. So you are correct. It's not Genoa, it's Naples. I got that wrong. So just putting that out there, got that wrong. Let's see here. What else? One of the three different pizzas. Swat the colors. Tomato, basil, and mozzarella. So that's like the margarita pizza. Made for Queen Margarita, actually, interestingly enough. And so the kind of pizza was then named after the Queen with an official letter of recognition. Blah, 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 blah. The first pizzeria opened in Naples. Let's see. hang on. The pizza was taken to the United States by Italian immigrants in the late 19th century and first appeared in areas where they concentrated. The country's first pizzeria, Lombardi's, opened in New York City in 1905. Still open today, by the way. Following World War II, veterans returning from the Italian campaign, who were introduced to Italy's native cuisine, proved a ready market for pizza in particular. And also another thing, that actually is different than what I heard, because I watched a documentary on it, and they traced, I'll try and find it and maybe like show it to y'all. Well, not show it to y'all, but give y'all a link to it in the future, because the documentary that I watched went through a very well researched, it was almost like a doctorate level thesis on how Italian immigrants returning back to Italy brought back American Italian cuisine, and then that's what influenced Italian cuisine overall. That looks to be different. So right now, according to Wikipedia, I'm wrong. But I will have to try and find that documentary that I found a little while ago. It was like 50 minutes long. It was very in-depth and very well researched from what I could tell. And I'll try and send it to y'all, or at least show y'all somehow, some way, because it provided a completely different story, that American Italians returning back to Italy is what formed Italian cuisine, not Americans going to Italy and then learning about the pizza there and then coming back to America and bringing that love of pizza with them. But with that, tomato. I thank you so much for the support, though, and I thank everyone for getting into that really heavy in the chat, so that way we could talk about pizza for a little bit. Everything that we could talk about. We talked about pizza and the history of pizza. But still, with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to Wubba, who puts in a $20 donation.
Hey!
Thank you very much, Wubba, for the support as always. He said, coffee fund. Also, those Tesla streams are crypto scammers, he said. Oh, dear.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Dude, remember that one time? Remember that one time? I don't even have to say anything more about that, but you remember it, don't you?
Hey, guys. Something bad's happened. My channel's been taken over by crypto scammers. Man, I'm not gonna lie though. I don't even know who's behind the crypto scams or nothing like that. Like, no clue. But those people like know how to clean a channel out. Like, I don't even know how they do that.
Yeah.
Like, they go into a channel, clear everything out. They replace the logo with their own, and they'll just steal all the subs and start like shilling that crypto scam like nonstop around the clock to their audience. And it's like, damn, they lock the people out of the account. There's really nothing nobody can do for like 24 to 48 hours to get YouTube to unlock it.
Man, I'm telling you what, man. I gotta say, I'm happy that our security is strong enough that that's never happened to us. But that was crazy to see happen to someone else, because it was like, oh my gosh, they are gone. Like, it's like they are gone, and it's replaced with a crypto scam. And I'll tell y'all something. I'm gonna give a little bit of a hot take. I find crypto in general to be a little scammy, like the whole thing. Like that's my personal opinion. You know, some of it's legit, like Bitcoin, but Bitcoin fluctuates so much you could lose your shirt overnight. You know, like that's one thing that really scares me about that. I'm just not really a big fan of crypto, and I'm not really a big fan of stock investing either. I'm kind of a very boring person when it comes to that stuff. I just don't even touch it because I feel like it's something very dangerous to play with. It's almost like gambling. You could just lose everything doing it, and I just don't like that. Like I don't like that at all. I'd rather like just sitting on the money that I make and just keeping it like that. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least the best I can. And I gotta thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for sharing that with me about those big channels being crypto scams, apparently, because I wouldn't doubt it, especially considering that they had like Cuban music and salsa as the descriptions for Tesla, a car company that produces pretty bad trucks, I've heard. But with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you, Wubba, for being a longtime viewer and an old guard. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Destiny Edgington, who puts in a $30 donation. And thank you very much, Destiny, once again, for always supporting the channel. And that Destiny says, do you think that the government will ever reveal aliens to us?
I think they already have. Didn't they? Like,
wait a minute, when was that?
Like a while ago. Like, they were like, there's extraterrestrials. And then everyone went, and then everyone went, and then everyone forgot about it.
They said there might be or something like that. They didn't say there definitely was or nothing. They said, oh, there might be. Look over here, quick distraction. Look, there might be aliens. Oh.
Well, maybe. Maybe they would say it eventually. I don't really know, Destiny. That's a great question. If the government ever revealed aliens to us, what would they look like? I bet you they would run a YouTube channel, and they would have a goatee, and maybe they would live in Alabama, maybe in the basement of their parents' house. And maybe they would have the sun most days because they're cold-blooded or something. And maybe they'd be.
I don't know, Mark
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg. I think he's been revealed a long time ago, though.
Dude, man, don't even get me on that, man. The way he drank that water at that congressional hearing, dude, was reptile. Like I'm not even kidding. It's like, dude, that man looks like an iguana that's thirsty. It's scary,
Hey guys, I'm out here smoking these meats on this grill with sweet baby rays. It's like that's all the alien was ever taught. They told him the barbecue sauce he like is sweet baby rays, and he loves smoking meats over a fire. Like, just repeat that over and over, and you'll win him over. He said, "I'm smoking meats, guys. Sweet baby rays. Did I mention I'm smoking meats? Sweet baby rays." It's like, dude, like, get off of that.
Man, also another thing, man. You know, someone I think actually would be an alien or an extraterrestrial.
Elon Musk.
Hi guys, Enforcer here.
No, he's not an alien. He's definitely human. Trust me. He's just a strange one.
Oh man, I don't know. Like, I feel like one day they probably would, because you can only keep a lid on if there were extraterrestrials. You can only keep a lid on that for so long. So I would say probably in the future. I don't know when, but probably in the future.
You know about the one you were just talking about. Hey guys, I'm here. Like that one comedian once said, he likes to party and you've got to tell him no. It's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, no.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, man. I heard that. I was like, oh no.
Man.
I was like, no way.
Oh goodness.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Dude, I turned into freaking, what was his name? Michael from GTA. When Trevor popped up with the trunk and he went, oh no. Dude, when you said that, I was like, oh no. I was like, this is terrible. Oh my goodness. He likes to party and you have to tell him no. Oh my, dude, I would have never thought of that in a million years. But with that, I hope that doesn't dress that well, Destiny, and I thank you so much once again for the support. And if y'all knew what we were talking about, some of y'all might know what we're talking about. I bet y'all will in the chat in a minute. Oh no, people, no!
Oh, they know. They're calling him out.
No!
They're calling him out.
Oh, no! Oh my god.
Oh, dear.
Dude, I thought that was like in code. Oh no! Everyone's saying it! Oh my god! But anyways, oh no, Destiny knows it too. But with that, I hope that does address that well, and I thank you so much for the support, Destiny Edgerton, and helping this channel to keep on running and allowing us to have a really good laugh. But still, with that, that does address that, and we're on to the next one.
All right, so our next one is going to go to Marion Deemert, who puts in a $20 donation. Huge shout out to Marion for that support, as always. And I see everybody in the live chat is just like seeing exactly what I was talking about. But Marion put in that 20 and said, "Slav Ukraine and Herom Slava."
And Slav Ukraine and Herom Slava. And thank you so much for the support, Marion Deemert, and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for making sure that we can continue to say well into the future, Slav Ukrainian, Herom Slava. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one. But oh my lord. Oh my good dude, the live chat.
Party, you gotta tell him no.
Dude, the whole chat picked up on that immediately. Everyone apparently saw that special or whatever it was. Oh no. Oh man, dude, I'm just looking at the chat. It's falling apart. It's over. Like it's over down there. Like I think we're gonna have to burn it clean or something. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address it. Oh my lord, man, we have a Turkish shell. I've never seen one. Tabuk. The U.S. is supporting terrorists.
Turkaya.
God bless Turkey. It's like, what? It's like, I don't even know. Like, but they're gone now. They're gone. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for support. We are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Bernard Rubin, who puts in a $10 donation, and huge shout out to you, Bernard, for that support. He said, "I'm currently listening to the war in Ukraine news while eating my lunch. And I mean, you can't just eat your food in silence, question mark.
No, you can't do that in silence. That'd be weird. I don't know why I said that so authoritatively, but that would be weird. I always listen to music whenever I'm doing anything on my own. All the time, like all the time. So I completely understand that. Because you gotta have music. You gotta enjoy the sounds of music, Bernard. And I thank you so much for the support. And also, I was wondering why you were eating lunch, but you're in Australia, so you would be in the middle of the day right now. But still, thank you so much once again. And you just can't eat your food in silence. And also, I hope you live at Mount LSA City, right up there. It's actually Mount Isa City or something like that. But beyond that, I call it Mount LSA City because Australia's a real one. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Gordon Vorenkamp, who puts in a $10 donation and says, "What will Putin do next?"
Dude, that honestly sounds like the beginning of a sitcom. It's like, oh boy, what will Putin do next? It's like, I don't know. I think Putin will mobilize the Russian Federation, a full mobilization. I think that's what's coming around the corner, Gordon Vorenkamp. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for putting in your third support ever and making this thing a reality. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Terrence Custer, who puts in a $10 donation, and thank you very much. He said, "I know that the Ukraine is getting satellite imagery, and does that U.S. give anything as live as joint stars?"
I don't really know. We know about the Maxar satellite, and Ukrainians have access to that. I don't know about it being as live as joint stars or anything along those lines. All I know is Maxar. But Maxar is a pretty live update. You get a 15-minute update if you're using the Maxar satellite over Ukraine. Every 15 minutes, you get a brand new view of everything going on down there. So that is pretty up to date. That's about as fast as the Ukrainians would really need. Probably not as fast as they would want, but it's as fast as what they would need. And that's all I would know right now about the satellite imaging systems that the United States has given Ukraine access to. But still, thank you so much for the incredible support, Terrence Custer, and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for being an old guard as well. And so with that, thank you once again. And we are on to the next one.
And we have one from Toadman the First. He puts in a $10 donation, and a huge shout out to Toadman the First for that generous support. He says, "I know this is smaller than what I normally do, but it's all I can afford right now before the paychecks." And Toadman the First, do not worry about that whatsoever, because every support is appreciated, and it's not even necessary. It's just very generous on your part, and we appreciate it very much. He said, "But Enforcer Matt, what is the likelihood of Belarus joining Russia in the direct invasion?" And if you're asking me specifically, I would say that if, let me reread that. What's the likelihood of Belarus joining Russia in the direct invasion? If you're referring to Russia attacking NATO directly, if I think I'm understanding that properly, I would say that Belarus would probably join in because it's basically a puppet state of Russia. And if Russia was crazy enough to do something like attack NATO, they would have to have somebody like Belarus on board to help them out with that for Russia to stand a chance whatsoever. And even at that, they're not going to stand a chance, even with Belarus on board. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say Toadman the First. First off, you do not have to support this channel a single cent, Toadman. Never feel obligated to, and don't ever apologize for support, whether it be $1 or $500, because every bit counts, and we are greatly appreciative. It's just incredible, and we're greatly thankful that people support the channel at all. So never feel bad about it being a smaller amount than normal or a higher amount than normal or anything like that, because we are just thankful that people support the channel regardless, whether it be big or small. But the likelihood of Belarus joining Russia in a direct invasion of NATO would be fairly high because, like Matthew was saying, they largely are a puppet state. They're very equivalent of what the Soviet Union would have viewed the Warsaw Pact as earlier on in history. They would have viewed them as puppets that would follow them militarily into whatever ventures they would want to conduct. And for that reason, I would say that they would probably join in a direct invasion, in my opinion. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support, Toadman the First, and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope I was able to address that question incredibly well. And thank you so much once again for being a channel legend and helping this channel to keep on running, because every bit of support counts, and we are greatly appreciative that you enjoy the channel enough to find it worthwhile to help it to keep running. And so with that, I hope that does address that again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, I see Toadman the First said Belarus joining in the war of Ukraine as because Putin is now declaring total war. Oh, okay. So I was wondering if that's what you meant. I just went with the other option. I figured it was the other one. But speaking of Belarus joining the war against Ukraine, now he's declaring total war. Honestly, I don't see Belarus jumping in as of right now, in my opinion. Belarus might jump in if Russia was crazy enough to attack NATO. I would see that possibly happening. But there's no signs right now indicating that Belarus is on the verge of joining. Of course, Belarus will let Russia use their country as a staging area. They've done that in the past. But I don't think the Belarusian military will directly be getting involved. At least right now they won't. But maybe in the future they might. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say they probably would never join in the war in Ukraine because it seems as though there's not really a lot of backing in the Belarusian armed forces for that, and there may possibly be a government coup that happens. That's why they haven't really joined so far. So even if Putin declares total war, I think the Belarusians will wait. However, I do think the situation is different with NATO. If Russia went to war with NATO, they probably would join in. Probably because they would have no other choice at that point, even if the military wasn't on board. And so with that, I hope that does address that well in that instance, instead of talking about Belarus and NATO, Belarus and Ukraine. But still, thank you so much once again for support, Toadman the First, and helping this channel to keep on running. And I hope we were able to answer that both the way you didn't want and the way you wanted. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Andy L, who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you, Andy, very much. I think you already left for the night, sadly, but huge shout out to Andy for that support. He said, take a question from the chat.
And thank you so much for the support, Andy L, legend of the channel. And we will make sure to take one from the chat. And so, Matthew, what do we got?
So the one from the chat is going to go to Conquistador, who said, do you think that the Baltic Pact stayed the hand of Belarus, which may have triggered Russia's new fit?
Possibly. It's possible that it did. I'm not entirely sure because the Baltic Pact has not really followed through with anything yet. So it's really hard to see whether that's a strong pact or not. So I don't really know if it would have held it off, but I would say that it's got a possibility that that weighed in on Russian decision-making during that time. So with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And thank you so much once again, Andy L, for sponsoring that live chat and helping us to keep this thing rolling. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one, guess what? Our next super chat. This one's going to go to, guess who? This one is going to go to, come on, spreadsheet's frozen. Come on. There we go. This one goes to Made in Canada 182, who puts in a $10 donation. And they said, getting a shirt for me and my 10-year-old who loves the Bayraktar song and asked me for one as well. And thank you very much.
Hey.
They said, hopefully the school doesn't think she's wearing gang signs. And take one from the chat.
Gang signs? Ridiculous. If they think if they think your child is wearing gang signs, let me know. I will have to personally call that school and give them a piece of my mind and be like, what the hell do y'all mean the LSA is a gang? Like, it's not a gang, it's an army. Get it get it right. But beyond that, thank you so much, Made in Canada 182, for getting a couple of shirts. That is incredibly cool, and I love to know that your child likes the show too. That's really neat. And I hope that you'll get a nice color. Of course, all the colors are beautiful looking and nice looking for the LSA shirts. But to be honest, navy blue is probably my favorite, and military green. I think those two are the best. The best, Jerry, the best. But still, thank you so much once again, Made in Canada 182, for the support. I hope y'all enjoy those shirts and get a lot of wearing out of them. And with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Roy Tooley, and this is his first ever super chat on a live stream. Huge shout out to Roy for supporting the channel for the first time ever and throwing in that $10 support. No comment to address, but I put a like on the super chat. There's a big old like. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I thank you so much for your first support to this channel ever, Roy Tooley. And thank you for your first ever super chat to the channel. It helps us to keep this thing running. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible day in and day out. And so I got to thank you so much once again for enjoying this channel enough to find it worthwhile to support. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be on air talking about the news every single night. And so with that, thank you so much once again. Hope that does address that well. And we're on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Margaret Hemsley, who puts in an $8 donation. And thank you very much, Margaret, for that support. She said, please excuse me, please, one last time, mention BC Skyman's dressings collection for Ukraine, and Yuri is going in June, I believe, and they go on behalf of the LSA.
And I thank you so much for the support and bringing that up. And BC Skyman is conducting a field dressing run right now to try and gather up field dressings. I still have to send mine in, by the way, Matthew. We got to make sure to make note of that so that way I can send them forward because I think you got the address. I don't think I have it. But beyond that, BC Skyman is running a field dressing drive. And Matthew, do you have the information about the exact kind of bandages and stuff that they are?
I have it in here in my email somewhere, but I put it in my business file, and I'd have to go back and look, and I don't have it in front of me right this second.
Because unfortunately, I don't know the exact kind of bandages. It's not just any bandage, it's a specific kind and size. And sadly, I would not know that off the top of my head right now. But BC Skyman
I'm going to go and look at my Amazon account and see if I can spot that in my order history. Let's see here. Do y'all want to see Enforcer Matt's order history? Let's go check the Patreon. Not really. Let's see. Espresso pods for an espresso, some Trident gum. Let's see here. A mouse pad. Let's see. Scrolling down. Oh, look, some Bic Crystal Extra Smooth Black Ballpoint pens. That's very nice. Let's see here. Where's that? Listen. Oh, here we go. BSN Medical Leukomed T Plus Absorbent Film Wound Dressing. Sterile. 4-inch by 11.8-inch. Box of 50.
And so, I hope that helps y'all. I hope that. Could you put that in the chat, man? Could you like copy and paste that into the chat to give everyone a bit of an idea? And also, you can reach out to BC Skyman. You can email them and get some more information on that as well. But we do want BC Skyman to go over with as many. Well, actually, oh my gosh, man, dude, I'm losing everything right now. Like I can't remember the name. Yuri's going over with all the patches, and we want him to go over with as many as possible. I'm probably going to be putting in loads of them. I'll probably be ordering them tomorrow, and then we'll be shipping those forward to BC Skyman, so that way we can see that the Lee Spring Army not only sends a flag to Ukraine that will be flying on the battlefields, but also we will be sending forward a nice little gift for the Ukrainian soldiers, so that way we can help to save their lives out there on the battlefield if they ever got wounded. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for your support and reminding everyone of that so that way we could give it a shout out. And thank you as well for being an old guard and a channel legend and helping us to keep this thing running. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Dynatronics, who puts in a $7 donation. Huge shout out to Dynatronics for that support. They said, I want to buy a t-shirt and patch, but in Canada, and I can't go buy and patch and ship. And I hope you can fix it, but if not, all good. You rock, guys. LSA forever. And at Dynatronics, I really do feel bad. I feel bad that the patch is not available internationally, but sadly, it would cost double the cost of the patch itself to ship anywhere international. And in Australia, I'm sorry, but y'all are getting jacked up the worst because it's almost triple, which just makes no sense whatsoever. But I'm looking into ways to try to make it work. I hope I can make it work. If I can, it'll probably be in a day or two before I can get that finalized. But if not, then sadly, we'll just have to wait until we can create a variety pack. So that way it'd make more sense to ship that international. So that way, you know, you wouldn't be spending $10 on a patch and then like $20 on shipping. But hopefully we can get a solution. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I thank you for the support, and I thank you for bringing that up. And Matthew covered that incredibly well because he's the one who kind of runs the merchandising logistics side of things. But we are trying.
Kinda.
Yeah, he pretty much runs the whole thing. I mean, like, there's no pretty much. He runs the whole thing. So he addressed that about the best we can. But we are trying to find a way to make that work so that way we can have those shipped internationally. It's just that it would be hard, and not only that, a lot of y'all would get screwed over in shipping costs. And we don't like it's one thing to get a patch, but then people will get burned, and you know, like reasonably so when they see shipping costs. Like for a $10 patch to get to Australia, it will cost about $30. And people are going to be like, what the hell? Like, it'll be insulting to people. And that's why we ended up not running it internationally, because the shipping would have been ridiculous. And we don't want people to get burned on shipping costs to try and get a patch. So with that, I hope that does address it well. We're still going to try and find a way, though. It's just that it's going to be a little difficult. But still, thank you once again. Thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And I hope I was able to address that the best I can. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Sully Canuck, who puts in a $10 donation. And huge shout out to Sully for that support once again. He said, keep up the great work, guys, and the LSA just keeps on growing. And it is growing. It's tremendous, man. It's where the subscriber count is still going to the moon. Like, even today, we're getting close to going over the 217,000 subscriber mark. And we were just at like 212 the other day. So even though we're not having that meteoric growth that we had during the Israel, like Gaza segment, that was crazy growth, the biggest in channel history. We're still growing at a rapid pace. And it's just crazy to see. It's wild. But Enforcer, what say you?
It is just crazy to see. It is wild. I'll actually show y'all a little bit of what the graph currently looks like right now. Let me move this over. This is what our subscribership has looked like over the course of channel history. And it's really wild to see because back in the day, this one growth right here that happened on the 7th and 8th of May, we grew, I think, like 8,000 subscribers that day. That was huge. Like, that was insane. It never got that big after that point. And then for a while, we were in the 100,000s, and then we boosted up from 123 up to about 160, and then everyone in the world wanted to backstab us right here, and then we went back down to 157 and 156, and then we dropped out of law school about right here, late January, early February, and then that's when we got back on that grind, and we started to grow. And then, boop, we're up here at 217,000 subscribers nearly right now, which is insane. It's actually insane to think that we've gotten this far and we've grown this much over just a short period of time. We went from 156,000 to 216,000, which is collectively about 60,000 subscribers in growth, something along those lines, almost 70,000, honestly, which is just insane. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. But still, I got to thank you so much for the support, Sully Canuck, our LSA Canadian Navy vet, and also for pointing that out, because the Lee Spring Army does continue to grow day by day. We've grown about 300 or so subscribers just today, and we continue to grow. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And of course, long live the Lee Spring Army, and the Lee Spring Army will never die. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to Fishing and Kayaking, who puts in a $5 donation and says, good to be here again, LSA, Slava Ukraine.
And it's good to have you, LSA, Slava Ukraini. But
beyond the party, and you got to tell them no.
Hi, guys. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it, man. But beyond that, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And of course, long live the LSA, and the LSA will never die. In V for Victory said, wait, you both dropped out? Yes, it sucked. I hated law school. I never want to do it again.
We've been out that hellhole for months.
Yes, for a long time. I cannot tell you enough how much I hated it. Matthew and me both didn't do bad grade-wise. Like, we actually both did pretty good. Like, but I hated the hell out of it. Yeah, Matthew actually did incredibly good. Like, I did all right. He did incredibly good, but we both hated it so much, it just didn't matter. We just wanted out. We would have been able to make it through law school, and we would have been able to, of course, probably pass the bar and become attorneys and everything. But my goodness, it was horrendous. I wouldn't have wanted to be one because it just seemed terrible and depressing. And not only that, I didn't really jive with the people who were trying to become attorneys. Very, very different mindsets. Like, you know, like I show up and I'm just like, hey, what's up, everyone? You know, how are y'all doing? And then you go to law school and then everyone's in a pissing contest. Like I'm not even joking about that. Like, everyone was in a pissing contest. And then you feel like you have to go around and you're constantly being judged and you got stuff to prove. And it's like, I don't have anything to prove. I'm just doing my thing. Why in the world is everyone acting like this? So, you know, that's my take on it. And so, yes, we have been out of law school forever. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to Stephen Farrell, who puts in his 5th ever super chat on a $5 donation. And shite.
Lag.
Shite.
Lag.
Shite.
Okay, you can go.
I got nothing. I can't hear nothing. You'll do nothing, man.
You'll do what you're told.
We're back?
Well, go ahead, man. Reread it. Oh, go on, then.
That's just so Stephen Farrell put in a 5 and said, thanks for all the updates on a consistent basis. You guys are awesome, and thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for the support, Stephen. And we love to put in the updates on a regular basis. that's what we do. That's what we love doing. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel keep on running and appreciating it enough to find it worthwhile to support it like that. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Bobo Vasquez, who puts in a $5 donation. Huge shout out to Bobo for that support. Sadly, we cannot read that off because that is an enemy of the channel and we will not promote him. But thank you very much, Bobo, for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I thank you for the support. But sadly, we're not going to read that out because enemy of the channel. We don't really publicize that list a lot, but when we see enemies of the channel, we just don't read them out. They don't deserve the recognition, they don't deserve the credit, because if it was up to them, this channel would have been gone long ago, and they would have destroyed it. So we don't read those people out because they don't wish us well, and to be quite honest, for that reason, I don't wish them well. And also, make sure, not saying this to make y'all paranoid and start like a red scare, but y'all make sure to be a little bit observant of people out there who seem to be all right. Make sure to be aware of what they're saying in their comment section or their community section of their YouTube channel, because we have started to notice that one of them in particular has never said anything directly against us, but we've seen this line of speech before, this line of rhetoric from the hot dog man, and the line of rhetoric that is being put out on the specific community page is very, very similar. And I'm not saying that, I'm going to be a professor about it if y'all are getting the hint or anything. But what I am saying is just be a little bit aware of that if anything was to come up in the future, that person may not exactly be a friend of the channel either, from what we can understand. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And I thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to Jamali Hamilton, and he puts in a $5 donation. And a huge shout out to Jamali for that support. He said the West told Sweden to delay sending Gripens to make way for the F-16s, and I believe they're still sending Gripens to Ukraine in the future.
They will be in the future. They're sending AWACS in the meantime, which honestly is a big upgrade. I mean, who in the world would have ever thought that the replacement gift would be AWACS? 2 of them, for that matter. That's insane. So I hope that doesn't stress that well. They will give them in the future, but for now they're going to give AWACS instead, which I would have never even expected in a million years. What a sweet treat. But with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Jacob Arthur, who puts in a 5 and says, please, don't use nukes in this war, Russia, please.
And I wouldn't worry about that. They probably never will use nukes in the war. And I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel keep on running. But I would not worry. We have deduced on this channel through all of the nuclear scares that the chances of a nuclear event happening in this war are slim to none. Might happen. You can never rule it out and just say that something will never happen, but the chances of it happening are very, very low. I mean, it's less than a percentage. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, at least in my opinion. I hope that does allay some fears as well. And thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to Point of Guinness once again, who puts in a $5 donation, and thank you very much, Point of Guinness, for that support. He said, what did the Russian trainer say to the troops this time? Next year, we will be hot dogs.
Ooh!
Oh!
Aw, man. I thought I wouldn't be a hot dog. Aw, man. Let me not run a stream for 5 days and take another self-care week. Aw, man. Aw, man. I like to talk about how brutal war is, but I don't even empathize with the people I'm covering the news on who are literally living in hell every day of the week. I need a mental health break. Aw, man. But beyond that, I do thank you for the support, and they will be hot dogs by next year. And so that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to Philip Fixes, who puts in a $5 donation. And thank you very much, Philip Fixes, for that support.
Hey!
Excuse me. The cough is returning. Where's that coming from?
What?
But Philip says, the best long-form channels don't use animations. Your style on the stream will do great. Give it a shot. Your bottom line will thank you. Slava LSA.
And I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I completely understand where you're coming from. So many people say that it's not really about the quality of the animation or anything that would really make those videos succeed. It would more so be just our delivery that would make them succeed. And there is a point to be had for that. There's a lot of people do what we do, but we are the #1 live stream in this category every single day of the week. And it has to be just because of the way we deliver it. I don't know why, because this is just the way I act. Like, I'll be entirely honest with y'all. Like, it would be lying to say that we're not #1 in the category, because the statistics literally just back that up. You know, we're top 100 in the world live stream wise. We're the only one that covers the Ukraine war that is even in the top 100. So there is something to be said for that. But at the same time, I have no idea what about our delivery makes this good. And then y'all will say in the chat, well, it's the energy, it's the jokes, and all that kind of stuff. And that might be true. But still, it baffles me that is the case, because I'm just being me, and Matthew's just being him. We're both being ourselves, and somehow it does well. But we could try and do a video like that, and the bottom line would be helped by really cutting out a production budget altogether. But I really want to make something high quality. It is an itch of mine. I would love to do it. I would love to have something that looks like well put together, like it's a documentary you'd see on TV. I would love to make something like that. It's just something I've always wanted to do. But I completely understand, though, that people say that it would probably do fine without any animations or high-quality production. It probably would. But I just still want something that when I look at it, I'm like, man, that is a banger. Like, that's just a me thing. But still, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again.
All right. And also, folks, by the way, I just got told by someone once again to check out a new program that might have better rates for international shipping. I'm actually checking that out on the air right now while I was reading off some things. Because if I can maybe get an answer for y'all tonight, I might be able to tell y'all tonight what I can do. So let's see here. Our next super chat is going to go to Gunfox61, who puts in a $5 donation. And huge shout out to Gunfox for that support. He said, shout out to a gaming buddy who had brain surgery who's doing well. And I hope you have a speedy recovery, and also to Nick as well.
Dang, and the brain surgery. Now that is something. Brain surgery, I've always heard, that's the thing that scares me the most, because brain surgery, and luckily I'm guessing he made it through fine, hopefully. But brain surgery is such a meticulous and such a brand new field of surgery to do brain surgeries of any kind. I mean, that is crazy. And I gotta say, I hope he's doing well, and I hope he's on the path to recovery, because I would be scared to even have the surgery. That guy is brave as hell to have it. And so huge credit to him. I hope he's doing well. And thank you for giving a shout out to Nick again, because I'm sure he massively appreciates everyone wishing him the best with his recovery. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And of course, thank you once again for keeping this channel running, and I wish your gaming friend, the best, Gunfox61, because any kind of surgery, especially brain surgery, must be really tough to go through, and the recovery and healing process must be pretty tough too. And so I hope that things turn out well. And so with that, we are moving on to the next one. Also, someone said, what is Hot Dog Boy, actually, he got demoted to Boy, YouTube rank? It is, I don't know what it is, but I remember the last time I saw it, it was like rapidly declining. That's all I know. Like I'm not even kidding. It's like a red graph, and it was going through the floor, and I was like, well, that looks good. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here is going to go to Foreign Agent of Ukraine and LSA, who put in a $5 donation and said DVN303 here. Oh, and look, he changed his name. He's a Foreign Agent of Ukraine and LSA. He said, you know what time it is? Oi, governor, time to let me out my box. Ellen is suffocating again, mate.
Alan!
Bring out Alan. Bring him out. Bring him out.
I literally typed in Alan in the search bar. I'm so sorry, everyone. It caused lag. I started saying Alan, and I just typed it in. But anyways, Alan! Hey, it's the Marmot, baby!
It's him. Can you believe it? We have a Marmot.
Dude, that actually sounded like it, man, tonight. Like, that was actually pretty good.
Can you believe it? It's a Marmot. How we have a Marmot?
Dude, that's actually pretty good tonight, but... Oh, hello there! Would you like a plum? Or would you like a rock? Or would you like that cake? What it would be, governor? What it would be? Oh, Oh, man. I would like another mental health day. Bitch!
Oh, you're lying,
Your whole life is a mental health day. Get with it, Governor. Get to it. Come on.
Man, don't pet this
hell.
marmot. He'll strike.
Bloody hell, mate. You don't have a job. You do nothing but smoke weed. You do nothing but jack. And then you need a mental health week every week. Grow up. Man up. But beyond that, thank you so much for the support, DVN303. And thank you for wanting to have this beautiful marmot. And and someone said, my ears so loud. I'm sorry, that's the marmot. Like that is the thing. It's just the marmot. But beyond that, I gotta say, thank you so much for the support, DVN. And thank you for having this marmot up on screen because we absolutely love the marmot. The marmot is precious. Alan the marmot is truly an icon. And I gotta give a huge shout out to Confarelli, who was the one who got the name Alan for the marmot. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, DVN. I hope that did address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, so our next one here is going to go to Miko Puhaya, who puts in a $5 donation. Hey! Thank you very much, Miko, for that support. He said, hey, love the channel. And could Putin's recent visits to ally countries mean that a coordinated attack is coming on all fronts?
It could, or it could have been that he was trying to go around and get some support so that way Russia could outlast Ukraine, and then he came back empty-handed, and now he's seeing that the situation is actually desperate. It could have gone either way. We won't know until June passes, and if the Chinese do not invade Taiwan in June, that means that nothing came out of it in Putin's favor, and they are in the end war now. It will be over very soon. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, and I thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Susie B, who puts in a 5 and says, at work, I talked to a lot of military wives, and recently there seems to be a lot of deployments to Italy, and why not Poland?
I don't know. That's a good question. I wouldn't know. There are U.S. bases in Italy and Germany. I don't really think there's a lot of them in Poland right now at the moment, and so we may just be moving them into Europe in general, just to have them there, and then they could get moved forward into Poland if need be. Although moving a unit that far, oh goodness gracious, would that be complicated? That would be so freaking difficult. But beyond that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, big shout out to Junebug72, excuse me, who put in a $4 donation, and Pedal to the Metal 65, who put in a 2 as well. Huge shout out to Junebug and Pedal to the Metal. And thank you very much for that support. And Enforcer, what say you? I choked it.
I thank y'all.
Well, hey man, at least I'm not going.
Dude, at least you're not going like someone just punched you in the throat. Like I will give you that. I will. But beyond that, I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep running. To both of y'all. Because while y'all didn't throw in comments, y'all support is making this channel a reality. So that way Matthew can hack it up on air and my esophagus can collapse midair. It is greatly appreciated of y'all. And I thank y'all so much for enjoying this channel and really finding it worthwhile to help it to keep running. Because folks like y'all are the backbone of the Lee Spring Army. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here is going to go to, guess who? It's going to LSA Sergeant Figment, who puts in a 2. And says, LSA, hit the like. That's an order.
Hit that like. That is an order. We got up to 4,100 likes tonight. Oh, whoppa. And also, by the way, I was just wanting to share this with you all really quickly. We have actually gotten 105,000 views on this stream tonight already. Oh, 6 digits.
Oh my god.
Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And we had a peak viewership of 14,000 tonight. It doesn't really matter about the numbers. It's just that some nights are better than others. But tonight's been one of the best nights we've had since the whole Iran-Israel thing happened. But beyond that, I've got to say, I hope that does address that well. And I thank you so much once again for the support, LSA Sergeant Figment. And everyone, make sure to hit that like button. Please do. We're up to 4,100 likes. Could we get up to 4,300? Perchance. But still, with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Next, we have a $2 super chat from John Scott. John Scott threw in 2 super chats. Whoppers, they are. That's a combined $4. 2 plus 2 equals 4. He said, LSA, night to everyone in the LSA.
And good night to you and LSA, and thank you so much for the support. And I hope you have a nice night's sleep. Sleep is so important. It's so important. It helps people to keep doing their thing and being willy-nilly. And I got to thank you so much once again for supporting this channel and helping it to keep running, so that way we can get a good night's sleep as well. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And I saw someone in the live chat say, can we have a Marmot patch? Is it possible to get one of them patches without Marmot on it? That thick cake. It's possible. It's possible. We might be able to do that in maybe a coming month, perhaps. But we'll have to see, because Marmot, he wants his royalties. And Marmot wants to party, and you got to tell him no. But anyways, we might actually have to get
royalties
patch
on that thing.
Wait, what?
We would actually have to get royalties on that thing. I thought it was public domain because it's a painting from like 1605.
No, I was talking about if Marmot like comes out with a baseball bat and like kneecaps us or something like that. He might want some royalties.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that's in the public domain, man. We don't owe nobody royalties for that.
So what I was thinking, okay, hear me out, is what if we made a patch? What if we made patches for different divisions? We'll just call them divisions of the Lee Spring Army. And we came up with one, and it was the first division. It had like a big red one up in a corner, and then it was just the Marmot on like a black background or something like that. I was thinking that would be a cool idea for a patch.
Could be a good idea. It could be. Yeah, I mean, it could work.
It could. And then we could do the Honey Badger as another one, and then we could come up with multiple other ones in the future, so that way we could end up creating literally an entire patch board for y'all to have of different patches for the Lee Spring Army, of the different kinds of units that there would be and all that kind of stuff. And it's not that there are real units in the Lee Spring Army, it's just that it would be cool to have the patches for it. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Butchie777, who puts in a £5 or a $5.
Oh,
thank you very much, Butchie777, for that generous support. They say, keep it up, and we shall. And look at that pair. He's bobbing and weaving while he's lifting those dumbbells. Good fellow. But Enforcer, what say you?
Man, you're losing it. You must be starving or something. Like, I'm starving to death, Governor. But beyond that, I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, Butchie777. And look at that little fellow. He bobbeth and weaveth. He bobbeth and weaveth such as though that he keeps it up, and it inspires us to keep it up. And I gotta thank you so much for the support, Butchie777, and helping this channel to keep running, so that way we can make sure to keep bobbing and weaving and keeping it up. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, folks, I got to tell you all this as well. A merch idea that I've been debating on, and I've been thinking, could we do it? Because, it's a possibility. Should we put a hot dog shirt out there?
Oh,
what about a grill? What about a grill? We could put a grill on the shirt with an open flame on it and have a hot dog roasting above it going, yay, 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 yay.
You know what, Matthew? I think we should do a hot dog. If we did it, we ought to go bold, do a hot dog. You know what? We ought to do a hot dog, and then we ought to put below it like a copy and paste of that email about realigning our jaw. We ought to put that on this shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Select. Dude, oh my goodness, that would be funny as hell. I'd like, if y'all want that, we would do it. We would do it. But we already have a plan for what next month is going to be. If I'm right, Matthew, it's a little re-release, if I'm correct.
No, it's not a re-release. It's a brand new release. It's a very nice design, but it's already set in stone for next month.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Then it'll be the month after that we do the re-release, right? Because we were planning on doing that soon.
It'll probably be more months down the road than that, to be honest with you, because it might be too soon.
But people have demand. We'll talk about that off stream. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel keep on running. We will keep it up. It's over that. We're on to the next one.
All right. So with that, we're now fresh out of Super Chat. So once again, huge thanks to everybody. No capping. Huge thanks to everybody once again for that support. We appreciate it, of course, very much. And V4 Victor said, you dropping a mixtape? No, not yet. Not yet. But anyways, moving on to our live chat questions, we have the Morse code decoders of the stream. Tonight, it was Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Paul Schultz, Kevin J., Rumpelstiltskin, David Millsaps, and Toxic Bananas. They said the Morse code decipher tonight is Russia is declaring total war, should give an idea of how far away Russia is from ever winning an LSA.
And that is the sound of money, and y'all got that dead on the nail. That was the Morse code message of the night. I gotta congratulate y'all. I have a stammer, and that was the King's speech. But beyond that, I gotta congratulate y'all for getting that correct on the 826th day of this war. Absolutely incredible that y'all got that right, and I gotta say, it's amazing to know that y'all continue to decipher those Morse code messages, so that way everyone in the Lee Spring Army knows what the Morse code messages say. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we're moving on into the live chats. And we're going to answer live chats until the top of the next 10 minutes, meaning there will be 12:20 local time or 1:20 Eastern time. And so, Matthew, take it away.
And also, man, Moscow is on fire yet again. Moscow's on fire. I don't know what building's on fire in Moscow, but it's gone ablaze. It's a big fire, and it could be some partisan activity. Just taking a look at it for a brief second on this Twitter post that's coming out here, I can't tell what part of Moscow it's in, but it's definitely in Moscow, and something is ablaze. It's a big one. But with that, you're going to show it?
I was going to look at it. Maybe I could geolocate it, perhaps, perchance. Let's see here. Oh, great heavens. Oh, that's like some industrial building. It's sabotage or something. We'll cover that tomorrow. But with that, let's get on into those live chats.
So our first live chat question is going to go to Lars Andrew, who said, Ukraine testing to find Russian ground protection of the bridge. Is that the case?
It could possibly be so, yes. They could be trying to find air defense. But at the same time, it looks like they were also hitting their primary target of the ferry, so it could have served a dual purpose, striking a logistics hub for the Russians and also trying to detect the air defense perimeter around the Kerch Bridge and possibly get an idea of where that stuff is. So it could have been both. But I would say that's probably one of the objectives that they had with that ATACMS strike, considering it was going for what could be considered a secondary target inside of the port of the city of Kerch. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
And I see Miss Disa said that was the former Toros machine building plant in Moscow that was ablaze. So that sounds like it probably is some type of sabotage, because we know now for a fact, it's proven by Western intel, that Russia has people running around sabotaging Western defense facilities and also manufacturing plants. So naturally, the same thing's going to happen in Moscow, and apparently that's what that is as well, because I doubt the building just caught on fire like that out of the blue, because I really don't believe in coincidences like that. But once again, the Russian chain smoker is back again, and he's tossing those SIGs on the ground fast. But with that, we're moving on to our next question, which goes to Sarah Rose, who says, have you all heard anything about Siberia plotting to break away from Moscovia, Russia?
I have not, actually. I haven't heard a single thing about that. So if that is happening, that's news to me, and I'll have to look into it a little bit more. But from what I know, usually Siberia is so far removed from everything for the most part that they don't really have a lot of say in anything. And also their population is incredibly small on top of that. But still, with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least all on my knowledge. And I might even be ignorant on that topic. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Hector Monk, who says, is it NATO that have about 10 AWAC planes in the air about 24/7 around Ukraine, flying those 48-hour shifts?
I think we usually have one or two AWACS out there, one in the Black Sea, usually an RAF AWACS, and then another American AWAC somewhere in Poland. I don't think we have 10 of them, though, but I think it's somewhere around 2, just to kind of keep an eye on things and see how stuff's going. And I don't know if they're running 48-hour shifts either, because that would be insanely long for an AWACS to do. Maybe 16 hours, maybe 12, but 48 hours would be pretty long, and probably pushing those crews to complete exhaustion when they could just turn those around, land them, and then send another AWACS up in their stay. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least according to my knowledge. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Lex Hoaloa, who says, have you heard if the influx of military planes into the East Coast is equipment heading to Ukraine or for our own use?
I've heard that Dang, Lex, that's a great question because I haven't been paying attention a lot to U.S. back-end logistics in between Europe and the States. If it was for anything, I would assume it's probably for the United States supplies because usually when we send support to Ukraine, it's usually materials such as larger amounts of vehicles, and usually we load those onto auto ships or auto carrier ships and then transport those across the Atlantic that way. Very rarely is it ever done by aircraft, and usually that's for smaller amounts of supplies such as munitions. So some of it could be for Ukraine, but also some of it could end up being just for U.S. support and supplies within Europe. So with that, I hope that does address it the best I can, or at least to give a good picture of what that will look like. And with that, we are on to the third to last question of the night.
And this one goes to Emma, who says, are the attacks on Russia's early warning systems connected to Ukraine receiving the Swiss early warning airplanes?
The Swiss early warning airplanes. I don't think I've heard of the Swiss.
Sweden. I think they meant the Sweden.
Yeah, because I was about to say the Swiss would be providing military support at that point. And that would be breaking their neutrality, although that's starting to become a lot more flexible. I would say not so much because those AWACS aircraft are not in Ukraine yet, so the Ukrainians don't really get the benefit of using them. So I would say that the Ukrainian attacks on Russian air defense systems are completely unrelated at the moment to any kind of provision of an AWACS system or any kind of an early warning radar relay on board an aircraft. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least off of my knowledge. And once again, that could be entirely dated, and also that could be more so on the back end side of things, because I don't really look on the back end side of support much anymore. It's mostly just on what's going on in Ukraine and what has made it there. So anything in that realm would almost be out of my zone. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. We are on to the second to last question of the night.
And this one goes to Avari Mandabratis, who says, how much do you think it's costing per day for China to maintain the air, sea, and subsea presence around Taiwan?
Most likely millions of dollars a day in terms of fuel, in terms of the cost of the crews that are manning those vessels, in terms of the aviation fuel, really just fuel and maintenance. Probably costs millions of dollars to maintain that right now around Taiwan, in the Taiwan Strait, and also on the east coast of Taiwan, more towards the Pacific, or the Philippine Sea. The Philippine Sea? Interesting. Anyways, moving on from that, that's probably costing them a pretty penny, several millions a day. But at the same time, for the Chinese, much like America, it isn't really that much of a pretty penny. It's just kind of like chunk change. But I hope that does address that the best I can if I was to give a rough approximate on that. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the final question of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person to put in the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is of AF Kaplan, who says, do you believe that Putler could get desperate enough to put child soldiers on the field in Ukraine if the adults are depleted down enough?
I think if it ever got to that, yes, because Hitler was desperate enough to mobilize the Volkssturm, which was the People's Army, which was made up of boys and old men, like actual boys, and also girls too. But beyond that, I think if it ever got to that point, Putin would probably be as desperate as Hitler was, in all honesty. But I don't know if it ever gets to that point, because right now, to be quite honest, they have hardly even exhausted the available manpower that is in Russia that is of conscriptable age. And so I don't think they'd ever get to that point, but if they ever had to, I'm certain that they would also pretty much move child soldiers up to the front. That would not be beyond Putin, much like it wasn't beyond Hitler or really any other tyrannical dictator of the past. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and we have reached the end of tonight's stream. I've got to thank each and every one of y'all so much for watching. There's still 5,000 of y'all here, which is absolutely mind-boggling. If 3 hours and 20 minutes in, there are still 5,000 people here. That's crazy. Tonight, we reached a peak of 14,000 live viewers, and we've had 108,000 people watch this stream since it started. We are entirely honored to be in the position to share with all of y'all the news that's been happening over the past 24 hours in the war in Ukraine and everywhere else around the world. I don't know why y'all picked this channel to watch. I really do not. But we are entirely honored and we're humbled to have all of y'all here with us every single day watching this news. Like Wilderness, Alizé Latvia, who just threw in a 20 euro donation, or super chat, to the channel. And he said, 20 Bobcats! LSA, baby! And Latvia tuning in. And Wilderness, thank you for the support, but this is a terrible time to tune in because we're tuning out. We're going off air. But beyond that, I thank you so much once again, Willness, for the support and helping this channel to keep running. You're helping this thing to be possible, and I thank you greatly. But you called us right when we were rounding out. But much like Willness, if you enjoy this channel, it will become a part of your routine. We are on every single day of the week at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. time, every single day but Monday, covering this news the same way that we did tonight. And so if you enjoyed it tonight, you will enjoy it every other night, hopefully. And so with that, thank you all so much once again for watching. I will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. Good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Least Spring Army. The Least Spring Army will never die.
And the Leaf Spring Army will never die. And with that, thank you all for another great stream once again tonight and supporting the channel as well. And be sure to go check out officialenforcerstore.com and go take a look at that t-shirt and also that very fine patch as well. And with that, we'll see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern on our next nightly war news stream, and hopefully tomorrow midday as well for a short war summary if there's enough news to cover. Once again, massive audience tonight. Thank you all for bringing us up to 4,200 likes. And with that, we'll see you all tomorrow, and good night.
Yes. The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.